Well, good evening. Jasu Jumede. So you are live on OK 101.7 FM. So in your live or your partner radio stations, High Live Radio, Kings Jersey Radio, NASPA Radio, and Adamfupa Media. You're live. So Migachu FM. Will cooking to me. And it become very important issue. The problem with the removal of the CJ, Chief Justice, because Ghana, baby, I question your democracy ni free now. Democracy ne fapem kese pa no omo friend bro bi omo kan say separation of powers. Into separation of powers ne say ye wo arms of government. Because okay assembly philosopher bi a Britain ni can say power corrupts, but absolute power corrupts absolutely. Into omo ye democracy ni nim say see ye di tumi hye ba akofo nsem a oh lie obe yusu manabro so. And even yen nanano before cra democracy ba no yen nanano mahinie kra omo ye no ye fa to me ma ohene ko o to me no ohene no ene nanano mahemfo in fact ohene no kra before ye beti ne hene no jiso ohema ene be appointed asem si na bro mpanifo no so omo se yen kobusa hwan abrewa and yen nanano were even practicing democracy long before Akosi Broni did the separation of powers eba na Akosi Broni did separation of powers so ba ye no o se aban no ye won nsa bebre ye were executive ye president na ne nkrofo ne omu man no ye san wo judge for ene ono so ne nkrofo a oni omu ebu man e ho no pani oda no ne chief justice ansa na ye san wo parliament mrahye bedwa omo hye mra because ye ntumi mfa emra no ehye no enkoma president na onu kro ya nso na esan be check onu kro ya nso na ebe judge nti lawyer for assembly aye omo command trabi omo ka say you cannot be rules of natural justice. No? Issue back when one of the elements say you cannot be a judge in your own cause. In the can say you can't be a judge in your own court. I had the corner, but really no. As some parents say you can't be a judge in your own cause. In the assembly when him now we a judge, I would assembly. Now some found one, you must recuse yourself. Also, what you from and eba ne sen na CJ yesi ekoyi no before beba CJ asem so yanko vice president asem so won say NDC the vice president yare politics won say na ebuabo NDC especially honorable Okujeto Ablakwa won say ebuabo no say won say honorable Okujeto Ablakwa asem na ebuabo no amu enka eba ne sen obi ehu ye third world country developing countries there. Yeah, asem no asekire ne say ye kasa o ye developing country a e chese onsan so wakwankro ohun ye manyina so baby a wo de ko no so you always need help because ye kasa ye third world country obi say ye third world country onye third world country a enka wo di bonsu a enam IMF ne World Bank ebusa 3 billion onye third world country no onye third world country a USAID Donald Trump buy here or see USAID omo munye program bi abiem no omo mu sika bi in fact we close your office so yana Ghana ho epopo because for almost 20 years I mean more than 20 years I mean they are journalists USAID for year trainee journalists reproductive health condom ne ade malaria control program USAID for na ye yenya research into malaria omo no ye ye cry Ministry of Health ni ye scan ye de amom enough 3-in-1 5-in-1 vaccine enura ye won kola ye de so nkola num USAID for na maye they do so many projects around the world onye third world country ka malaria keke obi eni se malaria ye hawa e kan Ghana ka US America for na brewsika enya American call DFID DFID omuma yeska JICA omuma yeska Japan for ma yeska SIDA Canada for ma yeska AIDS control program wow AIDS ye third world country unti asia kwashepo na third world country unim say we health facilities enso okay man comfort we must develop our health facilities true but on my third world country no untumi nya all the health facilities unya health facilities in equipment ko egu okra yasem equipment machines yanti kromo na mercy ships eba Ghana mercy ship eba Ghana be yo onkofo ye cleft lips yo mo aye wo mo na manu aye deformed o be ye say you free ye wo Ghana for doctor for eni omu nuano mo ba Ghana be healthcare free ye third world country what the politics bebo wa wuti so no wa pampa so this is exactly what is playing out some time ago na ye Kufuado eni Oforiata na ye Rollins ne nkrofo because asem enye MPP ni NDC na do ne ablakwa time in start. In fact, President Rawlings time. President Rawlings buy or the coup buy. One of the issues President Rawlings the coup. Tatan conform a teaching conform was that a person pay equal. And that in conformity including a champion government money ade. They were living opulent lifestyle. Now conform kwa broche ko shom ho yare. Ewi ase na Rawlings no a. Obekum conform say one man one toilet no. Tie nie pamuni ministry a. President Rawlings obekum conform say chinchini a. It doesn't make sense. So nipa ba ko ofia or toilet be 3. Entino or the slogan be by one man one toilet. This is Rawlings. Ko read history no. And yes, me bo misremu. The same Rawlings who brought one man one toilet no. Ewi ase no one man if you are here what you boom junction o. Question if you are boom junction or 5 houses. E wo boom junction Rawlings. The same Rawlings no kwa brochire ko hwe no ho yare ko no didi foforo e ko so the Paul Jemfi. He was going under a different name to hospitals in London. To the extent that President Rawlings the neighbor bars and to call medical school Ireland. Busasena medical school be ni lego medical school be ni ho. What won't I did you on my home? And yes, you can see you when you are simple and where you will be any simple. And never baby why they are politics. It shouldn't be politicized. It shouldn't be politicized at all. Me yeah. Me kunu or insurance, me dan insurance so say oh bra. Now insurance no doctor for ni ade nhwe wo ni ade. Oh me ami nuanum kra de metina OKFM credit matem. The same politics obi ba opage an kwase asem na wo kan won MPP aba power. Then na ukoti abroach, ukoti na broach akowo. But the same vice president abroach ni ade ne kono. Omo hwe no UGMC wie no. Na ade ne ko abroach. Health must not be political because even America, America for core hospitals were Germany, France. Sometimes there are some specific medical if you are sure nigga to can't say anything near you share a born a Joe Hane Hana so me koyamide or taking you on one is no the coy. Empire tea baby I use to taxpayers capre, taxpayers kobo, taxpayers $1 in pomudi at them. So, Mudia for yata no for yata quabrochena. Oh, Missy from Rawlings or quabrocho caution who yare because no himself for becan to us or your friend is saying Paul Jemfi. This was reported by Daily Guide and Baby and Saba and also Chronicle. Go and read the newspaper clippings. You see it. You need see a day apomode look apomode health. It is no respecter of party card. Apomide by all means be vice president your mom pay man ma me ho nto because ma me na asumo man and e wo Ghana mremu say we a public office holder e wo mrenu mo ka service conditions no ho into onya abone so akwa abroche ko hwe no ho yare a onya abone e kan health conditions no ho bibia ye de politics ye kra ni ye adwuma radio stations ni ade see your health insurance ho into yare a the company is supposed to pay for your health. Ghana private sector, mom my AGC Newmont. Any of the most of the multinationals got POHA, VRA, big companies. Because your doctors were Ghana pa, but your equipment in Ghana. And your treatment in Ghana. And Ghana so cried a HIPAA rules, laws, privacy laws, just obi yarea. Yem protecting nipano records. Ne medical records near the Ghana yem fanya juma. Into nipano cry public officer. Now you see and kind of conditions of service. One work to this abrocha because abrocho obi no release medical records any power in a ya nitina ya we breaching law no the nipano bed demma. One we are begging license. Ghana yan ko ya license crime teachers cry the year politics. Yenye license man nurses ebeyasem enso Ghana for kwa broche kotro place to America omo kotro ne ansa na waji license na wo ye bibi ba ko na e breach license ye jo license dey from sem bibia ye dey useless unnecessary bogus politics any ene enti ye roku de tabla kwa asem na okan na na ewe no and then kofa hu video aba se wakwa press conference chinchine and then you stopping public officials from getting treatment abroad.
Also nimsa mind Ghana ye third world country. Nye bibia na ye wo kolebu. University of Medical Center cry ye no anu ya. Enye bibia na wo University of Ghana Medical Center. It's not everything that will get there. Seriously. Me Dr. Pan, Dr. Felabi, or University of Ghana Medical Center. Enye bibia na obenya no ho. Enye bibia na obenya no ho. Kolebu enye bibia na obenya ho. Me papa wu na bita. Me na vo so abrochi anka obe survive. Because doctors say the omo wonim de no but equipment omo de be say yare no nye ni nyina na ho. And that is also not to say ye catch ye mpanifo ni say just merely because enye bibia na ho ntino they should get away with murder and they shouldn't do the right thing. No. The ye can say because Ghana ye sika nso on mine so ye budget sika ye nye ni nyina na ye tumi de bo man ho bra. Enti nye den a ye sika no nso ni nyina. Enti kakra na ebeka no ye de ehia. Oman ye third world country na sika na ye tumi fa ni nyina nye healthcare. Because by the time we hear healthcare no ka kwan so real. By the time we hear healthcare no workers so call demonstration almost so pay a good salary. And ye so ni ye sika no so yi. So your budget is heavily supported by donors. Your budget ye Ghana nyina donors if ya broche na maye. Into your minds, I don't catch you say, oh, let's build ultra modern hospital to say Mount Sinai Hospital. You cannot do it. I'm buying be any third world country bet you didn't seek in higher healthcare. Debbie, intimacy, America ni Europe no money idea crano. And for America called Germany because some hoyare. If America no call Germany, no cause hoyare. Because if you want my treat, omo was sika, they are even institutions, third world country. Third party organizations they are conform research into Arabia we as a more no matter research. Bill Gates Foundation they sponsor medical treatment breakthroughs cancer bibina bagana yentanya ye ni setikano ye sikano cry be by ye here first which is bread and butter issues and some yakoni na aka no ho it is such a third world country to me nya bibia keke am to your book doing unnecessary politics with everything. My member could you talk black voice? I'm man who actually no member.
A policy of no medical treatment abroad for members of the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary with immediate effect. This appears to me to be the best way to address the numerous challenges in the health sector. This will force us to get things right and do right to avoid the needless death of the 12-year-old, which continues to traumatize me.
Enti yera black one no. And on one enu masemo say enya ne sa. Ya avoid this here be mo bi akwa abrochi akwhwe ne ho yare. Me wa aka say no. Now Honorable Abamba bin Speaker of Parliament. Oyare ya fa go Dubai. Ya fa speak and go Dubai. So until you come and play these double standards. Speaker yare if speaker crowd you go Dubai akosa ne ho yare. And the secretary kan ne yire ka ho. Nkofo be miansa na di na chi no court treatment. In fact, ye nua be ma Kofi Adoma ya se bibia wo Ghana Kofi Adoma ye bo na ni. Enye Dubai no mo hwe no ho yare. Dubai na Ghana doctors na kasa kache no baby a surgery na du no. Aka o brain no ntiri na connect brain no to wani no. E ho de ye ni ho experience. Ene ye ni ho equipment hospital se wo osu no nti mpacho mo de mo wosika mo fa Kofi Adoma nkwa abrochire. Kofi Adoma onye public officer o. Onye aban sika na ode ko hospital o. Ibrahim na be so omu na obo akakra. Ene a friends penifo bi ni ade na atoshi mu ni ade nyina so omu bo abi. Ya di Kofi Adoma ko abrochire. Let's stop doing unnecessary politics when here maybe. Ghana na ye hia mo ye third world country ye ho so ya kwankro. And the vice president no ye see ya ade a hwewachi bebe mo mpa na ne ho aton na wasan ba beto na adwuma kese na oye no eso because under no circumstances should politics affect her health. And then I'm so happy saying in penny for the who feedback abetu you say so far she's doing well and all that. But you kuje to black woman nyina careful because see under even President Mahama ba the first term, Professor Mills, President Mahama, there were NDC people who went to hospital abroad. And the one say how they kuje to. In fact, ya mami Zita Okankwe, she was information minister at the time. Zita ko abroche because because our insurance will be on more co school abroche into our insurance until our opportunity now so obekwa na make us say Ghana privacy crash ukoda kolebu ade be chine wan asem da abontin. So a lot of people for privacy sake they go to abroche because what Ghana says here we do me see vice president or Ghana says here and can they omo de yare na beto abontin. Or Ghana says here and kayari on operation crop. In fact, yantiana yera PV obey eko like mana ye cha or that stretch as could be a channel the abeto about they don't know ni parinyai. 7 kwa 7 kwan ye di wokrom ha. And say we don't follow the rules. There's no way Abroche hospital be yare ko be cha picture free abroche and the abeto about because that would be breach of the HIPAA rules. It's in penny-for no abroaching. And me say, more conditions of service. Rollins, the yes, our constitution to her, and yet, no poquad man. So if she's benefiting, and you're a fault to her, or could you turn an way come on Wabeka? Buso could you to black was so ya says here can service condition on Quabruchana. So ya on Quabruchana. And playing unnecessary politics with everything. And this is what Ghana Web quoted him as saying. Okujeto Blakwa is of the view the officials should be stopped from seeking medical care abroad. Asem nario no. Asem nario. Ba omi akọ abrochire kohwe no ho yare. They politics. Me will be also him say ba omi akọ chira de Canada. And it's possible say ba omi akuta an international insurance that otuminya medical care anywhere. What you abrochire na wo paper na utua insurance you can get treatment anywhere in Europe, anywhere in America. Because you could have insurance, and most of these international insurance companies normally are multinational. And so near the politics at Tiaba Umia, and any na here from a kind of base, any na here. Yaria is no respecter of persons. Yaria, it is no respecter of persons. Yet what? And normally letter beto the Vice President, Her Excellency Nana Jane Opokwajman, received treatment at the University of Medical Center on Saturday due to sudden illness that occurred after work on Friday, March 28. Based on expert medical opinion, she will be seeking further medical care abroad. We wish the Vice President speedy recovery. Because experts say based on expert medical opinion, she will be seeking further medical care abroad. Sabe ba omi ade anya expert for ne case omo fa ne kwa abrochire ho keno foyata de no owu aye nyina hu se de na fono hu ti se di bo. The man was almost at death. Anya doctors ne case fa ne ko. The people were jubilating time. I mean him say ne ho hin de first asante be di etu omo so gaga no so ne do baby na edoso. But when he got sick, people were jubilating that he is sick. Obi ayo yet ebony odi say asa no free mu. Penny wu akola wu mem papa 70 wanu na timokoye. Enti say yare to obi a eyo enemy oyo you must not jubilate. Shahumra by force. Sa conditions where you work constitution no. Rollins mo time mo dey share constitution mu. Nipa na ye public office holder especially article 71. Conditions of service na where ka ho no create. Enya Professor Jena no Pokwadman create. And so politics fun politics stand tiny ni aya Nebi muso afa MPP for ni bi so afa omo dese Prof Jena no Pokwadman yare. No, you shouldn't be jubilating. You shouldn't be jubilating over these things. Owo de ya. And obi oyonko da no da it should never come. Say obi yare ntina wo jubilate. And na buabo ye roku je to ablakwa no. Yanye ehhehye say a 20-year development planner. 30-year development plan. I say your healthcare no, you be gradual because you're a third world country. Yen to me for money GDP sika nyina anko your healthcare say you person your hospitals here to say America hospital, here to say London. It's not possible because sometimes you school feeding for this car. Sometimes na Accra Kumasi road there was see sometimes no not the same thing. You pesika dia to aduane, you pesika dia planting for food and jobs. You pesika dia CC factories. Ama boys enye adwuma ye. As a third world country, untumi nya be 100%. So people will definitely travel because even developed countries, say America, UK ni adinko for yare wo home mu ko seek treatment in Finland, in Norway. Now say America, they were doing some new breakthrough anti-aging first treatment. The people had to go all the way to Denmark some remote hospital to be almost specialty no almost fi America one omukoye yen nya see ade bibia ye politics e moa yen abroso and this is where onyankopon na e lesson no what you say any okuje to black kwade. So let's move on to a chief justice no but ye better chief justice there but again before chief justice also Kennedy Japan so ka say boni bia wa ye bia nkofo mfa nche no o si boni bia wa ye bia nkofo si there Kennedy Japan any baomi aye nyina wa kumasi eja no ho no it's a classic indication say 2028 na set omu nyina per presidential they are declaring that will be a president and they are not leaving any stone unturned. Because Baomiako or Sikano Kotu any nachos, I'm still in the race, may baba 2028, may baba. Because Ken or Tineba BB anyway to Ken say, oh sorry, say or by say me patchobi am offending if I'm patro. Before Ken Beckas I know him said in ICBB so and in ICBB no so on him say oba. When Ken there's some Cordiobia Caso Babe Patcho so be any BB van. He is indicating say on him showdown part 2 na Ken ne Baomia starting. This is the ultimate declaration of showdown part 2. Ken versus Baomia. Other people may join. But who say, Busumi Siakram, I have 10 people for lose or no. But Baomia Ken United declare showdown. Missy Ken Kumazo no Nankosi or Kwakoma a first electric post. Okay, so Bemanaqua or Ken no Maniqua. No, on top of that, no Asamba Kame Pamucho, my old Bonia Mufan Chemi. And the way I'm organizing Kofokosian Airport, a showdown part 2. Officially, no, Ken has declared to run that he's in the race for 2028. No. Ken has officially declared, say he's in the race for 2028. My analysis natural. He's not going anywhere. He's coming. And he's using that to tell you, say he's coming. It's in all patch or no. But you see that it will take more than Ken public a chopper way to mitigate or more wait to Omonasono. Ken must start doing room to room, apologizing to people. As of one the way as of former MPP showed down this election, he must start going to room to apologize to as of one and then Crophobia to Omonaso, Crofo did you matter, he must do it behind closed doors. And Sana Omodia channel. Baomi also has a lot of work to do, especially Muslims. And fans at Muhammad J with in Gramofwe. MPP, they rejected Baomia, and Baomia and the team must start doing their homework to find out why did Miami before reject me? Why did the Zongo people reject me? One of them, any advice I made them a first Samirano, Master Gumaya Fino, you need them Cremofono there, they did not vote for you. Some homework here, and mom wants to be better to Alan, Alan to the new Jim Diana. 2028 in the end was a Sanya Gum. And Alan has nothing to lose. I've already told you. Mama pa for shaggy reasons in tea. Obeboa NDC, but obesa making sure say while Alan Bibi no catch Alan say mas asanko semu udionya 1%. What say this time MPP for NDC nya 33%. O guys Alan kan wan ka onya. Work no also no boku masima na tete or boku masima na tete. At the end of the day, NDC got 33%. So 33%. The last election in 2016, NDC won at 27%. 3 plus 3, 6% never can win in Ireland. Any disgruntled people was say Mustai BAB. What do you want to know? Intimacy officially showdown they are started. Baomia versus AE. But Alan so man who double triple showdown. What do you know? Double triple showdown. Officially 2028 in the declare. Now Syndicate is now one day, by all means, they will sack all of them because they are quite there. They are quite there. And we know more well they call the army on coffee. Coffee say agron is beyond national executives. Now Baomian and can crown one or no more national coffee. They all go home, they forgo home. It's one or more declare no. It's young go back to Chief Justice, but also on the containers national and me video I hear Gina Poka say. And no more who he Gina me and can't containers to go bra. I don't even know why you people are talking about the containers without even bringing in Gapo Hane shipping lines in the idea. Containers, are China for one picture about one area containers? No, China for the area container and the Ghana for one area containers.
For energy and green transition, currently my vision is simple. I want all the 1,346 containers accounted for. 1,346 containers. Whatever it takes, I'll bring those containers to where they ought to be. Mr. Speaker, let me set the record straight. And if my good friend, Professor, will listen to me, there's not been any inconsistency. At the transition committee, Honorable Yarga was there. They gave us a figure of 3,000. Then they told us it had incurred demurrage of 1.5 billion. I was sworn into office on the 17th. On the 24th, I visited the harbor. At the harbor, I was told the containers were 2,500. That is what aroused my suspicion. I didn't say at the harbor that the containers are 2,500. I couldn't have counted 2,500 containers instantaneously.
Baby, I didn't want to say at the transition committee, no, na containers ever port ever have on here 3,000. It's between NDC and people. You people must come clean and tell us where these containers are. Mana moya transition ni atu abana wie no. Na 3,000 containers or have ho. Enti yes, so a minister ni no na containers better than 2,500. They had do. Enti ho amuna call hoko wiaye. Who was in charge at the time? Yes, swear John Jinapo in as minister. Who was in charge at the harbor? Between Gapoha, the shipping lines, and Omo Makani, you are container no from China for no. China for ni any landlords or Ghana port. Young Ghana, government of Ghana, GOG, represented by Ghana Ports and Harbors Authority. We are the landlords. Our harbor. There's no way container be free MPS. Abra China need to me airport. I better contain our MPS without Gapo any, without MPS any, authorizing it without customs. What kind of cock and bull story is that? What kind of cock and bull story is that? Then I say, Dana, say, no, why do you can't say, no? It's a book in a by now, no, China for air, missing men and a camouflage, China for a macocho in a camouflage. They are Ghanaians. Where are those Ghanaians? Minister, one Kasabetrimu. Where are the Ghanaians who stole the containers? China need bien to win by a port one of my bra. Ghana in Inca. Nanya MPS. Terminal 3 na ya temaport no. Temaport ye key 1, key 2, and ye key 3. Key 3 ni attack on terminal 3. And on MPS for that no. And the Elysium MPS for 25 years. They are the ones who in charge of that port. There is no way a container be free honum. It is a minister catch us a time and no more transition no. Now containers they go on here 3,000 or order that. And today just say maybe MPP 400 over more NDC no. Now contain 3,000 or porto into na who do am. Na who take am. Mamu beda de yenyan kola wo kroma sa o. Na who take am. MPP minister na kasa brofu. I don't want to. I'll go back and play it a little and no yenye ho. O say 3,000. Afa bedu si eso ani no na de na da 3,000. Se party for na no mo ya no makogapo aye beji ayi. Omo na makofa come clean and tell us. Because China need to mean bomb right portal. Abra obekwa containers. Musi na demurrage that so 1.5 billion. Ni omo mu wi aye no mu tua demurrage na no mu tua demurrage no mo fa de no koye. Masa Ghana de na mo ya said that the idea we than NDC ni MPP and asesem. Meanwhile the people who stole idea na kasa wo ho.
500. That is what aroused my suspicion. I didn't say at the harbor that the containers are 2,500. I couldn't have counted 2,500 containers instantaneously. And so from 24th, I went to brief the president on 27th. And by 31st, I had established this committee. There was media coverage. And we took Professor Senyo. He's a chartered procurement expert. The report was submitted just this week. It was during the presentation of the report that the committee told me that contrary to the figures they were giving you, over 1,300 containers cannot be accounted for. These are the facts and nothing but the facts. Mr. Speaker, these are the facts. So those who are on social media and trying to play the political game, let me assure you, it will not deter me.
Yes, yeah, that's to say it will not deter you by Jimra. because it was within the authority of NDC Aban and a containers na Minister one kasa can say by the time I'm transition no na 3,000 containers na port o and na actually ebeda 2,500 just so we can we are 500 and some na mokoye audit mu so mo we are 1,006 in part of mo de mo container ne bra because China for the no mo we are there's no way the Chinese can get access. People are just using them as a first scapegoats. They are Ghanaians involved. Munko jembra tia ni muni asembia. Abe moving on to Chief Justice there no say petition to remove the Chief Justice. I mean, and America says separation of arms of government, separation of powers is very important. Say they biaba nasa abane beka say oh constitution now provide the prima facie first saying awama formula to me the other arms of government. Ebe kakra ne yeba be yi a first speaker. Said the idea Charlotte say oh they are establishing issues against Charlotte say you know. Then the about Chief Justice or you know. Ade betchini e parliament ye speaker. I mean, how far can we go? How far? Yeah, chichiro money ye and this about 4 years to do major things. 24-hour economy. To make sure say Jumaba, to make sure say boys and girls will be aware Juma all year, to make sure say the economy is stable, to make sure say the city is stable. Distractions. We are just giving the government too much unnecessary work to do. Meanwhile, 4 years, you don't have election year any free man. Technically, a bank was just 3 years to work. Is this you to about for things like this, Anna? Because you see, the Ayame said this political nonsense and political rhetoric. People on social media support your CJ because I said it for that. Or MP before you Charlotte send anyway. I mean, how? Why are we doing this? Yeah, MP before the call Charlotte says we condemned it. Today we are condemning. Even me did you talk when Charlotte said that is your homework? Go and do the homework as if we didn't talk about Charlotte says removal. We spoke about it. We spoke about it. Into how long? Not just a Sebio Bruyen Ghana for your form now. Ya Jim form. We must be pushing the government say do what is needful. Yatiano may yes, you be at 39 houses. Akoya didn't call court you do boy. These are the issues as Ikaya Koji bet me that your money. If indeed so Afaka Pranas and Poa. You didn't go. Then you are succeeding in labeling a judiciary. Oh, judiciary in the more unanimous FC. Meanwhile, it is the same so-called unanimous FC, no, and no more quitting a year first saying at forcing. Just a young general minim say me at the womo, say money and one the womo, say ensure the womo. We cannot even critique issues. We are going to need no be at that or say judiciary need a unanimous FC because of mama judgment in a particular. Do you know how many judgments are judiciary in a day, in a week, in a month, in a year? Then one political case in you want to label them as unanimous FC, and because of that, you are supporting this nonsense. Say CJ. Now say judiciary, no, headed by CJ. Bibia by man also almost supporting Anna. What if you wouldn't law? No, so you're not ruling be. Now say you don't know the premise upon which that ruling has been given, the premise upon which the foundation upon which my judgment now to also unanimous FC, and the same so-called unanimous FC in the equity a friend saying. Japan at forcing. And they are not unanimous FC. No unanimous FC. Yeah, I tell you, I'm used to kakra. Yes, supporting your politicians. No one. And yes, you are the only arm of government that is now standing. A judiciary, no parliament yato. Because the way you have MPs who are also ministers, discussing a cost of parliament in any politics. And you take away power bag can't wait. Yeah, near Koda. And now you're turning judiciary into sa. Me say Rawlings natural constitution. No, under this constitution, say the president of the day, no, and they want power to appoint the CJ. And you kufuado na ye, and then you kufuado na ye, and then you atamels and Mahama na be that this constitution ye use we. And Rawlings the DJ. And the Rawlings were unanimous FC ana. I mean sometimes me minim judges here. They were promoted by NDC and they've also been promoted by MPP. Justice Tanko was judiciary or Supreme Court. He was promoted by NDC and he's been promoted by MPP to the Supreme Court. The unanimous FC. Justice Apa, who was on the Supreme Court bench, he was promoted by NDC, promoted by MPP. Also a unanimous FC. ya dwene wo form dodo ye my politicians ya dwene ye say judiciary no aho we are doomed. Your judiciary is perfect. It's not perfect anywhere. America or Europe, there are people who are wrongfully jailed. They are say abrani afa. Young company for us so that we can understand whether Article 146 now you must say change Chief Justice. Was the president right? Because a law say president or establish a prima facie case and send a forward the petition and I'll be at the petition brand obey me say the panian fanenko and I'm here fanenko judo usu mini abema or no a US lawyer until you ever heard the comparison between America and Ghana no and Richard Kojo Abansu a lawyer or Ghana and so you ever Ghana only because you cost your democracy if you're American and UK you better difference so is my mission same fruit lawyer ban this removal of CJ issue no DNA so but so microphone no aba
if you put him in car
the tonka ha
we the impossible me chair with here for now food na
say
constitution no article 146 na you can one no ne title no removal of justice of superior courts and chairman of regional tribunals and no 1461 1462 1463 144 1464 1465 when it comes to I'm sorry say about the removal of Chief Justice himself or herself and then year 1466 if you want to make it say
Matu say 1466
yes 1466 because you have 1461
I just know the specific say ye Chief Justice formula ye emphasis on okay ti enfan ko formula ni whether president ma follow formula na when follow formula na
and so what can you say where the petition is for the removal of the Chief Justice, the President shall, acting in consultation with the Council of State, appoint a committee consisting of 2 justices of the Supreme Court, one of whom shall be appointed chairman by the President, and 3 other persons who are not members of the Council of State, nor members of Parliament, nor lawyers.
Okay.
Into which are the people who make up to that committee now, President, both Majina so no other establishes say, and para say, in some of obi atraba a tier Chief Justice no and nam social person remove no no no. These are the people now constitution akasa estate no.
Okay.
To what I say.
The question is, President at this committee now, has he done this?
I would say, so we should more. And son, no mean, Kayante on Trese and committee no, or Mati, no Matnasi, and son and Abuja, because they have to sit in camera. What I say. No, no, and I'm say, send your young to me for BNC, no. Asemna abediga aba abedwa so no bia tibi to atiase ezi asat now no committee na kasa kra no munya entiye obi ni mu won wo so ana won mu ni so na mom no Chief Justice say so must establish prima facie against media mami hu se ne te answer.
But can they establish a prima facie case against the Chief Justice abra yente committee na
enche no a president nasam to because so we share we ni mu a we share constitution na senior constitution na na who prima facie case bia wa the removal of the superior court justices no and no the prima facie case no ewo to so we share we na who ready 1466 na
1466
prima facie case bia wa but and yet ne say answer na wo boko na ora koma committee fun so mo ntanase no mo dwodwo mu no to see another when I didn't say Chief Justice Nate say Obi Abaroje
Complain be etiano.
and now say we move no say it is adia mami hu complaint na impako no Abaroje no and sana why establish prima facie case no
Okay.
Church mami so menkasa because you see no prima facie case no kwa no obi ehun say sa committee no o matnase no mahu say ampa say bibi wo mu a o say ye gina so na ye yi no anase bibi animu a o say ye gina so na ye di yi no church say but so what has happened within the week kra na yes me ye kan akoya mute the reason
exactly
mute ni say the president himself have allowed the chief justice to respond to this petition within 10 days because the chief justice have written to the president say or person who petition and sana no say to say there no problem as adam point and one kasa one can kire me what wa obi kura ti answer me mate
exactly
me ma 10 days gina hwemu na yi ano
like I say we constitution ni pa dia 1466 na obi area start the president area start chief justice area start
in fact want to mean can say president area 1 year the right thing no no see and say all the manifest nka be yefe so I say because some mu a wo hwe article 1466 na e bibia ni wa kire say nke onye sa na mum no wo say ye wo bibia ye fre no rom no say dem etem kwa na me yafi say also wo man pako no oyi na no so
fair hearing man fair hearing
so we say wo twa sema to bi so anase wo pese wo do bi ko je ba bi no bo no kwa adu a me pako no so no onya akwanya no so onkasa mu me kwa tia say enti no constitution akasankasa no anye na explicit na mum wo hwe procedure ne conventional right in case chief justice no nko beti so as because we kind 1461 up to 1465 now and no removal of other justices now and no chief justice no or no di makotre establishes our prima facie case no but when they come to on akasa ne dia na won't ni din wo mu biem
yeah
but mam kwa chase enti sanity so we say see ano your constitution no your nima na yakọ no enti most of those provisions no we are now testing them
exactly
and so as we test them no we will expand it so as there will be precedent when it come maybe in another 10 years 20 years no say bibi say sia and ya hwe so na edako yanim okay so as when na ye eyanamo a ye tu yon constitution no a che de banche bebre enti enum mu a ye tire ya anfias ye test no bako meti se na wo ka bibi say bibi baba kra na we can even impeach the speaker of parliament and it is possible say bibi tuma basa say imagine say ebia president no owoso no ono no oni enipa bebre wo parliament ho na mom no opposition na no kronkofo
edoso
mo parliament ho office doesn't bet mercy enti ena no yade a as we grow in our democracy no e no ma baba one at a time you be test law no na you be test constitution no ni ahwe how it works
okay. So I say even this one although I no political kakra but it's good because it is allowing us to also test the law on the removal of the CJ.
Of course. Until Bibia no your first time. Be sensitive that. But yes, because have been points that and you know Bibi something similar had happened before. But no
removal of CJ Sida.
And not exactly CJ per se, but something of nature has happened before. So as there's a case like that, once When I was researching,
Justice Anandia, because no, Justice Anandia was about his appointment as CJ.
No, there's a case here. You as we go on, I will mention it.
Okay. Because and then somebody was alerting my mind to say Akukosa, the first CJ, no, that he was also removed. But at that time, the constitution were dealing with a different from 1992 constitution.
Yes. I'm talking of this our current constitution. Yeah, to the Tobas, I'll look for it and tell you.
Okay.
And you know, as time goes on, a lot of the provisions.
Can we compare this to Charlotte Osei removal, Anana? Because Charlotte Osei, by virtue of being commissioner of the EC, you know, has the same qualification as a court of appeal judge.
So another the comes under the removal of superior court
judges. Okay.
Justices. Or he's linked to the high court judge. So I say, so his one comes under 1461 up to 1465. But when it comes to the removal of the Chief Justice himself or herself, and here 1466.
And the same.
Similar. The procedure is similar. So I say, sanity.
Okay. Jude, Mammy Busa, Moti America, Moonim America, Mrano. One hour lawyer near the more advanced chain, young Ghana for no. To compare, but first and foremost, Ghana day. I don't know about legal procedural rules America in terms of removal of almost CJ. Said Clarence Thomas here and who has a free America Supreme Court. But what do you think about the Ghana day?
Okay, Xavier, but that's for the opportunity. I mean, share a form here in a telephone. But I think the last time you interviewed me, I said this year, this year, yes, it was a more Musiamra. I want formal books, any more pen, no more paper tool, because the near ma, we cried the Afina Ashasi, the number be brave, but they not mean your penny, lawyer Aban Eke, Mefuaso. But I think that medical percent started from your friend is saying 146, your friend is 3 no.
1463. Okay,
was it? If the president receives a petition for the removal of a justice of the Superior Court, other than the Chief Justice, or for the removal of the chairman of a regional tribunal, he shall refer the petition to the Chief Justice, who shall determine whether there is a prima facie case. But so when it comes to the removal of any Superior Court judge, and I said justice, it has to go through the president. President, no, in this instance, no, a conveyor. But you're breaking it down. A conveyor belt. That's what I call it. No bag at us and I'm the son of baby. And the president no need role to play in the removal of a Superior Court justice.
Okay.
The same thing applies to the removal of the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Now, the only thing is that in this instance, usually say any other Superior Court justice, Chief Justice no more be determined.
Okay.
Once the constitutional and say obey determine a or ma opportunity ama.
Okay, yes, one kind of it's true.
And a bit determined. Until on the best the prima facie case basically.
But it's a given, say natural rules of natural justice. There is given in any at least quasi judicial procedure. There is given, say you can't, it's imputed into it, and
a processes.
Okay.
Until say my point. Ama nipana biyina no at the stage of establishing a prima facie case, then what is the point of the other processes? Say the OM panel committee not being investigated. So if the opportunity is given to the person to come say during the prima facie case, then there is no point for the other phases of the procedures now. For other Superior Court justices, as I said, Chief Justice need determine say there's a prima facie case not also a panel or more also on panel according to the Judicial Service Council not one my and he said ebi a chief justice bi o na say ebi a yepesi Supreme Court justice bi and as a Court of Appeal justice na say abeto nanim na say in determining prima facie case ono ama ho kwan say ebi a Supreme Court judge and as a Supreme Court justice ebi a fa bibi bra and as a present bibi ansa na me determine prima facie case e ono one prerogative no emma no enye emra enti na me ka we about the cases here alter for MP and other people the court. I think it was a bit presumptuous because at the end of the day, when it comes to the one involving the Supreme Court Chief Justice now, Assembly say a better president in any man. I say where the petition is for the removal of the Chief Justice, the president shall, acting in consultation with the Council of State, appoint a committee consisting of to study a mini opinion kind. There is nowhere a can say or say or ma
Chief Justice in Bayina no. That is 1463 now can you meboa.
Makaba be 1466.
1466 okay.
But at there a back home here case be a buy kind of the Judicial case now. By around the 2005-2006 now. And now a similar situation be into during the your friend is saying the ratio of the judges no more established set. So shit at the end of the year before say Chief Justice, ABA Chief Justice no or your first superior court
judge answer
and no nejuma. Yembe imagine when it comes to Chief Justice role is administrative. And no and yet the core and say even though it's a constitution and cassette establish a prima facie case and send the active committee or mobile investigate here. I will say your mahu kwine. Not also in her case, no, and I say in his case, no, a prima facie case should be established.
Okay.
If that is the case, then who establishes the prima facie case?
And only asem no. Because the CJ herself cannot establish a prima facie case about herself.
So in the wisdom of the framers of the Constitution, they decided to say, and I said, justice is not a Judicial case. No, they decided to say, precedent no, and establishes say there's a prima facie case in consultation with the Council of State. Let's bear in mind, so when we share the constitution of the Council of State, there has to be a former Supreme Court justice. And the president in consultation with the Council of State is not in abstract. At the end of the day, so president also the advice of the Attorney General. Yes, look also a president be said to me a lawyer or yet independent. What your advice is said on the face of it. Is there a prima facie case? See, as a prima facie, you can't answer a confusing for main for criminal law any example, kakra. And almost in every procedures need different. But me person me explain it. Young fan say, obine na yere dam paso. Yeah, sorry, moja efri papa ni wo. Untimi enka no ho say na yere no ene kuno. But on the face of it, something has happened. There is a prima facie. Something has happened. And it's a new kekeniyesh. That's all because I mean, yeah, mammy, who quine, I mean, maybe you may want to any muna. A Brian call the nitty gritty of the matter now. Then what is the point of the processes that we are doing?
And at this point, then speaker need. CJ any right to be able to demand they say a man a fair hearing.
Didn't see a Akobana son and a mini opinion can. Usually, you say all kind could do it. No, say all proceedings under this article shall be in camera. See, I can't say in camera. The essential process is no camera. That is, it has to be in secret. We are not Latin, confused. In camera, just say no camera. And this publication be an answer BBIA. Intermediate in this instance, now I think say. The akoma way in our banner, me blame Penny Felix. The release now of the Barbon thing, communicating the process. The process is all kind about the process. There's nothing wrong with precedents now, actually, because at the end of the day, the president, John Mahama, is actually following the appropriate procedures that also follow. But communication now a buy.
Now can you say about bunting?
No. So this is what is happening. And no now come CJ na because can usually can maybe say it's here nipa na you know until hon he can say the minya penisi kind ya panel committee na omumo no ebedi asem no e ho na ye ka kire say wo bra obetime do lawyer aba and na say obetime do expert bi a wo feel say obetime aboa amwadi wasem aba pacho ya tell the person say until I say to the bi na and you may be saying, no, matters of the constitution is political. But yeah, I'm a party politics. I'm loud and it's very dangerous. See, it's a case here. I'm explaining the legal idea, but my personal opinion there. But your excuse to say, here. You should be here. You say, and a choir, name a bit my first bit may pay justice and free hoyer. That was a meaning of misconduct, stated misconduct, incompetence, and incapacity. Be an asset visa. Yeah, you name the content of the petition.
Of the petition, exactly.
Every cry na incapacity. Wait, the eye is up. Okay. So me to maybe a mayor, lawyer, maybe Supreme Court justice. Maybe a mayor. Oh, no, him say yetifi no, and send be a make it can see. What is next? As a my dream no any ya. Me
not to check a crack.
Yeah, you be free for mental incapacity. And he asked to say a dear petition. I'm just saying it in jest. Maybe cry not a Supreme Court. Yamame talk maybe I know on one the petition, but do we know? We don't know. But because of the way party politics and see, we are setting a very bad precedent. As a MPP bar, Jubilee House, your friend Jubilee House, NDC bar, Flagstaff House, a bed true baby, see, President be a bar, and also be person or do one Chief Justice. But there is a reason why Chief Justice's term usually transcends the political term of a president. It's a can't BBC America, bar. Can make a whole assembly.
It's my America, so no more more common in the chain Ghana. Until I have the only American, so I then idea with Babonte, do you know?
If ya and Churchill, exactly, no cano. My case, a Jechum versus Attorney General and a Cote.
Okay.
A Jechum versus Attorney General and a Cote. If ya so be say a banisign in a cobanesadia, Ghana no a young people or NDC. So as I say, and the thing is that we are setting some precedent here. And yeah, and why all can say, you know, we all grow up knowing Afrejan as electoral commissioner. You understand? During the 90s, now you growing up now. We all know say as a giant pet. And Afrejan happen or yeah, attorney or yeah, EC what do you call it? EC chairman. After the 2016, Yakoda Sharia Omeyino. To what I say. Because Afrejan no 2000, I think so 196 crowd so. He's been there since 96, I think 96, 2000, 2004, 2008, and even 2012. Was it 2000? No, up to 2008.
2012 no
2012 no call ye. To what I say. After the sorry, Yakoda sorry ya. Obi a competition the president. President now use constitution no. Or see me dem say ni mo na constitution e kanu na meye. In the constitution say in the constitution say sorry na pa mo so mayi no. To what I say. In
the case of Charlotte Osen did they follow the due process in one?
Of course they did. The process was followed. Now if you now say you follow processor. Yeah, but not follow. Follow.
I told you why you want the obey follow on the follow process no.
Sisi I am can say Chief Justice or say Yaman and Mira no one kasa only madam de ko or say Mammy 7 days. President said there be Mama 10 days. For no question. That's the procedure. So Echina Umaka say one mamma Quampo no man who near or chair then against me, and I say exactly what the person said against me.
But in the case of Charlotte saying Yamani Kwam on to share petition in Moyin and Wana.
And only the
she didn't demand it.
Different. On the procedure, a different from
CJ. It's true
yes,
because she's not
different from that of the
okay.
The justice, the Chief Justice. So I'm quite say, like I said earlier, when it comes to Chief Justice now, we are dealing with 1466.
6, yeah.
What pen ye Gina? Yeah, Casam no. So what yes, and you know, but let's come back to the procedure. If there should be a point for us to stop somewhere. Exactly. And yes, I about my follow procedure no, you remove obia. Because see, it doesn't even demand anybody. Me sitting here as a lawyer, no. If you look at whoever, anybody can go and petition. Say, Chief Justice has done this and that and that and that and that. For so long as I can convince the committee that indeed the person have done that, you know, that is the procedure. So I say, anybody from anywhere can go and petition the president. And if the president is convinced that what you have said, you know, is true, they can follow the procedure to remove you. So and
do you think that should be an amendment to 146 no will be very necessary, especially in the case of Chief Justice, the 1466 no say Sabenya Nkwasia petition be na what's the president EDH. They must establish that it's meritorious answer.
Of course, and it's no much best prima facie case no. Yes, I was sorry what the choir no more follow, no more remove no. Tell me Nkwasi ebia won penasem. Ebia officer or NPP ni. And as officer or NDC ni. And ebia wakaka bibi ebia sinem maybe ankwa ekan no ebi kwa uye wife. No say na send there na sina oya do ofie no. Me hwa enoma nkoyie. And our constitution ni mu say we share 1461 now. I see a justice of the superior or a chairman of regional tribunal shall not be removed from office except for stated misbehavior.
Where the stated misbehavior is what?
1, or incompetence, or on grounds of inability to perform the functions of his office arising from infirmity of body or mind. These are the grounds. Now, if you are incompetence, it's a very broad work.
Very, very
broad. So, because incompetence, it's a very broad. Labor law is one of the reasons upon which you can sack your employer or your employee. Say the person is incompetence. Be a deal so ye no. Why dream 1 year ye in your confession so ye no sign of office ye no. Until you can establish say because of the way you are no you have established you are incompetent as your work. And that could be a ground for removal of superior court justice. That is one of the grounds. Infirmity. Ebi wakonya accident bi na woma twa wosabako yadwuma untumi yadwuma ni biem. Wotiwa saa woma hu se wotakọ ankafro kọgye aduro. Wokwa wo hye jaribia na kwonto bi ahu. One day bi uti anye ye na obi hu wose ei wojafo. Na wo hye aso na nse medam ntumi na nti mabegye aduro o se akọ we aboda. Obi o aboda de aso na o se. No ma you. If you look at the grounds now, you're very serious ones. So I say, you're very, very serious. And you know, so basically, the follow procedure, if you are, when it comes to incompetent, and woman can corruption pool, corruption in her. I think so many says, I know money there, and go almost my remove be until my farmer. Misbehavior. Misbehavior incompetent.
Misbehavior, and also so broad, and also to mean to what extent?
Corruption
misbehavior, my pa, na say, and the money misbehavior, you know.
Misbehavior and them to me, Ebia so akwa ye obi o. Say ebia office one no ye no ma wo ho. Ebia office one no anapa kwa ukoye enoma bi wone cleaners bi koye enoma bi ho na oma kasa wanjai na obi abechew eno kra ya misbehavior omtumi sakew so ati ase ena incompetence ebia asa ka opana nkofo a omo ma unanimous MC wo de okompanar bi a unanimous MC enti ya incompetent eno so enim so ati ase on the grounds of inability to perform function of his office arising for infirmity no ye ebia body need to be juma. That's my understanding. Maybe there'll be a better on definition. Maybe to me here. So as of the body or mind, what general into me juma. Body no to me peja to me juma said the no kwa. So I'm take it out. Young meeting won't mean co. So for 20 caps and son what to me juma. In none count. So as I say, but strangely no.
But all these things no must be established in camera. Say they now near kuma Jude.
Yes,
but secret. Into ya then away babonting.
If you know me, perhaps say strange no corruption wa ha. Say nka hu an officer no there a battalion to man nka hu.
Ebia it is interpreted into the behavior no
stated misbehavior no.
Anyway, behavior no, it's interpreted into the stated misbehavior no.
I was even thinking say na kababa first na come big corruption but man can wa. And you know when it come to any dia so as I say adia nam so mbo to magina no ma yi wadi no o ma yi no na o ma kan wa ha no so as I say but as it is now no me ne wo no ye nim out of this no which one na o ma kan tia the Chief Justice ye nim so as I say because ideally no we shouldn't have even heard anything at this stage. So I say we shouldn't have heard anything. We shouldn't have heard anything. And there's a reason why the framers of the Constitution, if you as we speak today, no, the Chief Justice is still performing her duties as a Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. So when I say all this is happening, no, or the whole in the Juma, say case be call and now. I don't know about panare and confusion moment transe. No, adjudicated case, you know, until say this procedure no will come to an end, you know. He is the Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana. So Okoshu great a chana pa a chaya holiday. One is the Okoshu greater. Nidina Babasho team, the Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana. And so I don't know all year, Juma. And you know, and there's a reason why your constitution, they wanted to keep everything secret until the time. And can be on my year prima facie case, woman who will be a year, no, Sam, every grandpa can resign. And Coca catch and say, oh, Yatisel, nice Otaqua and Cafu, Yachaki Yano, and almost say, what do you look out into New Year you are? And can you come resign? Let me take you back a bit. What you were saying about this big people seeking medical this and
went abroad. Okay.
Sometimes you know, and you say you don't have doctors in Ghana, but sometimes it's for their privacy.
Exactly.
Because you're not kakayan. Nasi dia. Oh, no. Obaka Oka catch and boyfriend say, "Hey, Vice President Baho, no, our diabetes serious and show be." And I'm saying, no, I'm my home.
It's true.
We don't have competent doctors to take care of them, but our ability to keep their medical records private, you know, sometimes that's what the problem is. And it is idea and uncle baby, no more question, because you'll be able to me, yare. So I say, that's the whole problem. So you to me, you be NDC MPP.
And Chief Justice the same way is a classic example. Say I'm okay, Kaya said the only Mukano. Anyway, according to the Constitution, can you say about Bonting, but yeah, they are about to Abonting.
So, and you know, a problem, but if it's good. It's good because we have to test our constitution. Constitution now, you rely on US, UK, and other places, you know. They have tested it severally.
Okay.
And we have to do the same. You have to do the same. You have to test it. Because you was 68 years. Yo, Obi was 68 years, no, wako pension 8 years, but this time, no, wako pension, Ghana, baby, pension 2 years or more diabetes, hypertension, no, normal, and yes, he said, no, Ghana, no, ya pa hypertension, by this time, you BP, do, because your 68 years. And no maybe we have to test it, and it is fine that we test it. It is good that we test it and see what is it, so that it will serve as precedent as we move forward. In our democracy, so it's fine.
And although the concept for the squatter for the better abontin is good for at least future possibility of amending the constitution.
Yes. Who say Chief Justice Ochekoma President say omoma no kwan no onkasa no wama no kwan wama no 10 years 10 days obisa 7 days wama no 10 days. Next time na bibi sa abesi no, the president will not even wait for the Chief Justice to call and say that give me the opportunity to know what is it that you have against me. So this will be a precedent for the subsequent processes to follow. So I'm quite say, "Enti bibia na yadusua mayen."
Okay.
Yadusua, but say Mr. Kano, yakwe bibia NDC NPP, because the thing is that one party have to be in power for things to be determined. At every point in time, you have only one party in power, and because you have one party in power, no, that president of that party no be take this initiative. So I'm quite say so. But
I want to know. I am here worried. They say I quite say yeah. The Aisha Charlotte say yen samfanye justice etokonu. Enti tit for tat yeah. Now we indeed have an intention. Say you per se establish a proper structure and system. I bema kwanya ye di be yi obi se obi aye boni indeed that because the Charlotte says so back this week. He said on only copy with him. She said she never saw her copy. I don't know whether she never demanded it, but I quite said tit for tat. It's yes, we are munipa. But how far can we go? Nana Jude can say the air connect.
If you but who shall to send it now? The procedure no actually the way it should be removed. No, and say also momano that as at that time.
Oh,
because
really?
There are two different people. Like Jude said, the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court judge, it is he say yo, no ranko no.
Okay.
And son the Chief Justice, appointment. Anybody at the Supreme Court, based on your seniority, can be appointed as the Chief Justice. Yeah, according to the way and ideally, it should be the senior most judge at the Supreme Court to be the Chief Justice. So I said that's how it's supposed to have been. So I said it should be the senior most. Now, because I'm a fan of because if you're not in say, we are human beings, so you are human beings. Yeah, you have to have that one at the back of your mind. Over 4 years. Oh, but what promising call for say we over you have only 4 years. And no crab to me. Now, who was Chief Justice if you saw home? If you say, say when he said that, or you want to, I do him to come say, I don't come to say, okay, say, okay, and yes, say your constitution, Sama, and Kaoba, what do you need, Papa? What can I say? Such case, show mommy, no make sure I cry away. But because there's because of the procedure, and Tamafu show me, no, say, show, you should say, a can't be away but my far. You put my young way now, touch I said, only put us in we are dying. Once there's a procedure, no, but my shower who said there's a loophole be more. About me, and then you know, open. So I said, so why do you think Sanka first come by your first week assessment come by? So they want to set everything proper, then they'll move forward.
What can I say?
Because I said, you want to put everything in place. Prepare pen your move. So much zoom in. At least for the next 4 years. For the next 4 years. So we see that stated misbehavior. Now we see the bar. That's no problem.
So that I agenda no say o see the case bi kokko dey jailing confront no.
Sane me mati from mo me ti me am say me yes susu madjuma me yes susu madjuma but the way I didn't start it right from beginning, you know, it seemed to me say there's some certain agenda say this is what we want and this is the way we should get it. If this person is there, we may not get it the way we want. So how can we get it the way we want? Okay, let's go this way, let's go this way. And if it works, fine. If it doesn't work, we go back, strategize, and come back and see what we can do. And say, no, you remember Junior, you remember Junior, they can't say, you'll be unconscious. So I said, but this is also going to serve as a precedent. That's what I want to everybody to know. So what I said, because now that we remove the EC channel, now we are moving on to the Chief Justice. A time may come that we may even go to Parliament and remove the Speaker of Parliament. Because you may have the rights, you may have the people, and the condition will be conducive for you to do so. So I say, no, whatever we are doing, you know, it will serve as a precedent. So I say, send the yaka say, Shanata say, me kata wa no. The same thing also be baba. Who remove no? I also say, oh, the time you are removing the Chief Justice to 2025, you know, how do you go about it? So I say, no, Bibia your president. But me, no, I think say it's good for our constitution. Let's try everything and see what works, and then we move forward.
Okay. Well, and also it's dangerous because already people have also suggested seeing James and so free. And yes.
After I start you.
And you do James and so.
The James and one over two no. A Chief Justice, no.
Yes.
And Assembly Cocotin, no establish prima facie case against her. Now, if the person is not on your side, how can you remove the EC? So if this person is gone, you bring your own person. Then you can also go and say, oh, remove this person. Another person will go. You cannot go.
I get it. Until that's the grand scheme. It must start from one and start number two. Not trickle down.
Imagine
based on experience. June, Mammy also your views on this. Said your brass so cannot see at the end of the but no agenda. But he's saying, say at the core of what he's saying, say a politics there, but a young summer democracy because it is testing us. And it's our dream papa. I never want me to change your constitution to improve it. But I had dream bonus so I deadly.
Man, I make answer made me feel say politics no. And I mean there are so many things that aside from legal, you know, because we are also in the political arena, no. Me, I don't want to go down there, but say Kaya, even your president, His Excellency, before elections, you know, made a comment to the effect said to clean the judicial system, you know, you need a new Chief Justice to be able to do that. At the time, no council said no, not Chief Justice, so you're not only a Chief Justice. It was just an interview, normal conversation. But that's beside the point.
Yeah,
what? No, but me no mean per se measure honey too much because me no, I'm just hoping say, and I am assuming say, being a petition and kasaba, we are following the processes. But they may kind of say even the processes as it is now is very shallow because so can't crowd that be drew your friend is saying 14610 and the crowd might be dangerous.
Okay, Mami
extremely dangerous.
Okay.
14610.
I say where a petition has been referred to a committee under this article, the president may in the case of the Chief Justice acting in accordance with the advice of the Council of State by warrant signed by him, suspend the Chief Justice. In the president may suspend the Chief Justice. B, in the case of any other justice of the Supreme Court or of a chairman of a regional tribunal acting in accordance with the advice of the Judicial Council, suspend that justice or that chairman of the
because look at it. Unlike America for Supreme Court justices now, Supreme Court justices now, they have an age limit. And it's a precedent crying and not gonna say, justice token no free wa. Your procedures here your constitution e man the coin so betimi not to suspension be and I say yeah asem no. Asem no 2 years, 3 years ni ending we ya suspendo. In your suspendo the senior most person after and the baba acting chief.
They say who is the senior most after Justice Toko? Who is the senior most?
I think it's a
Because Justice Doche ni ho. Nka ona na koye senior most.
If I'm not mistaken. But in that case, but look at how dangerous it is. Into meaning the my submission is said this whole article from even 144 to you will say as a constitutional review and also here during the election period oral and made serious points in regards to because or a prophet. Because or a prophet, Kufuor can the same thing. Say yes, your constitution. Ne Andrew Merbia, you be 2 chambers. And as suggested, say in case of Supreme Court justice in the crown, say as a president and appointed Supreme Court justice, my president appointed, but subject to the approval of say establishes second chamber of parliament. Or ne be approval. And the president the only paba na say second chamber na approval. The person will not be
doesn't get the job.
And only be my checks and balances now anymore because as it stands now, Mr. say father said the minimum penny can. That's a grand agenda. That's a petition is the crown mabano. Your friend is saying, home for because this is not the first time a petition has been brought for the removal of the Chief Justice. Say, in this Fourth Republic, from Rawlings' time to date, every time Supreme Court Chief Justice there has been a petition for the removal of a Chief Justice. My George in the Wood, I'm President Mills, several. And by President Mills in was a constitutional law person. He was not about to, get involved in these things. But I could do maybe a petition about President Nassau. This is not the first time I petition about. I mean, even under President Akufo-Addo, this same Chief Justice here, respect to Professor Azar, had a petition by for the removal of this same but because everyone is a president and appointing Chief Justice, Obogu crowd before prima facie case. But say yan sheni nas yan consider san way as on mine. What the wash a year already is here and 14610. It's very dangerous.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm your president. I'm not even seeking for your removal. I just want you
to be suspended. Not
let me pushy. Many may be true. If that is the case, I'm not saying that is the case that is going on. In my opinion, the way
okay, so how they compare US or US the entities? US they can President Trump remove the any Supreme Court?
Absolutely not. And as a matter of fact, one thing that is funny, which is also a current debate, also even the term of the Supreme Court justices America, only term limit. The only thing stated in American Constitution, I think it's Article 3, says Section 1, 2 more, baby. It can be about idea here, so it's why Supreme Court justice. America, good behavior. And it's also so 100.
You don't cry advance the amount age limit. You must be of sound mind, a certain behavior.
But more in
America, they'll be no.
But more mind, so almost bit now. For a lifetime, obedient me induce. Okay. Say or no, if you listen, our term limit, 8 years, and I say 10 years, and I say 18 years, or Bemano idea or Nenkophobia, because after that, or retire or retire, so he has to exist. Because most of the congressmen and senators are almost free to America. Most of them become lobbyists.
Yes.
Into the same case, and I may apply to Supreme Court justices now. If you don't give them the unlimited, so when you saw a term limiter, it be a corporation be or When him say be a dachi be no free so person on your juma, he might be favorable to the person. And I said the corporation. In the America, Hano, the process is
America, the Supreme Court judges, something so too for who are Konyan, so who are
no person or retire. Oh, and that moment so it I did there, baby. Hano, so a political. Because said presidents now appointed Supreme Court justice subject to the approval of Senate and then the Kikahon. But unim said for several years, Supreme Court justice need be 80 me a time omo. Say be a wadibe 83, 84. Now say be a Trump this may you sure says a liberal Supreme Court justice be also. Wadi 90 crowd on retire for him say another democratic government.
Okay.
A more president may appointed replacement. It just happened. The first female Supreme Court justice say, "Well, America has to say no." You don't notice no, not on your ibia or hey, by the time no eba besona yen say no nimsu wanyini one hair no akuwu akunyana so and or retire. Said they are
Biden betting for be ashemo no ye liberal.
Younger. Also been there 40 years.
Jude, I didn't think I'm America how they more judges are or ye liberal, wouldn't say, well, you're liberal, way or you're conservative, and your problem. I didn't again and quaddy. Ye level your judges and say, oh, where would you have or your MPP kakra? Where do you end this kakra? No, your problem, my but Momo, yes, will be a conservative, judge be a liberal. Are we okay with it? I didn't hear.
Even the competence assembly. Yeah, can you fact Ghana then an example? Before so we be rise, yeah, but be drew Supreme Court justice. It is assumed, and I say it is implied, say, or you're competent in the judicial aspect.
Yes.
As in Chief Justice, as in competence in administrative, and no there, you bet me a question. Into Ahano, the attorney said, yes, will be with my conservative, will be a conservative, will be a liberal. But at the end, you know, it is assumed, said before, said, you be more obi edru sa level. Not what establish a track record be said, oh no, it's not about inducement. Obi ain't me inducing, and yeah, you know, but it's the letter of the law, no, or the ejima, the spirit near back in the ideology of conservatism. And no, there is nothing wrong with it. You can be a conservative, but still. Exactly. There are several times that your friend is saying, presidents be a liberal. No, I appointed liberal judge and I said justice. They've ruled against them. Trump, it be atono several times. On one Justice Kavanaugh and a lady or the they've ruled against him in several instances. But also I said, they are not current. I say, yeah, Ghana, and I say, executive authority, no, very stronger.
Yeah, but still, executive near a strong cry. Obia, nominating the beer will be Onimumrano. Now, is there a case I had to me nominating Kofo Ghana Mudimunimrana?
That's a man here. I want to have my mobile.
Because so far, I'm attitude of Justice Tanko, Justice Apple, Justice that about for years was one of the authorities who was so ammonia. There are people who have worked on the soils of Ghana who would shaky tables.
But on the Ghana, I think that
and now because you to me fan Crawford from the bar onto the bench in India. You ask me to me appointing Crawford from the bar onto the bench.
To be a Supreme Court justice, you don't even have to be a lawyer.
In the US?
Yes. Technically, because the Constitution does not say anything about it. But the convention is said, apart from in the 1800s now, and I said, you know, only a couple of people have not been lawyers. The convention is said people have gone through the mill. Lower courts, the Drew appeals courts, and that is the convention. But it's not a requirement in the Constitution.
Okay.
Send me to where you don't even have to be born in the US. Send me to host say. Send me Trump money year campaign will win. Meeting baby. Obeti me appoint me as a Supreme Court justice. I don't have to have any experience. I don't have to have been a judge. And I say BBSR. But checks and balances. I want to know checks and balances in the age. Said before, so with me a Supreme Court justice be Edino. It is not an easy process to say Article 146 and very, very shallow. First of all, before say with me Supreme Court justice be a free one, is to say they have to open so president. If we someone has to bring articles of impeachment. So a private citizen, accusation be a member of the House of Representatives has to sponsor it.
Okay. So what the more strict. Ghana so they not say the 2 million mo be
because I have to say, Xavier, na nipa no cry empanel almost say determine say betime Supreme Court justice in this case everyone nipa 5. Are we serious as a country? Nipa 5 and they be a whole head of a branch of government everyone. And my president no kwan so say enya primary facial case in the established committee in the state king or power to me suspended. Say case in maybe 2 years I suspended. It is very wrong. In the US, it was said House of Representatives. House of Representatives, depending on demarcations near at this time, we are over 435 votes a visa. Even before the House of Representatives, it has to go to the Judicial Committee of the House. Hearings. And Sana said, Ejitum, no vote also said this is to the level said it was a courthouse now. No, must submit it to house now. A courthouse it can take several months. They will debate it, but at the house you just need a simple majority. Say be a 50% plus 1. And so we debating we to swab. Say if it passes by 50% plus 1, then you are impeached. Then it has to go to the Senate for a trial.
Impeachment trial, proper trial. So that makes maybe you are not.
And at that place, you need to test. It's the Senate now, 100 senators. It was only 67. And the top about in the case of American history, no Supreme Court justice has ever been removed. They have tried.
So your constitution is faulty. Chief Justice.
Yeah, because at this point, to say Chief Justice and relief be because of a J-Trum case they say that they have to establish prima facie case. And they say Council of State for now. If I'm not scared to say they say I don't think it's a framework of your constitution, say a Council of State, and they are very political. You have a Council of State, President not appointed almost 45% of it. 55% now can also
political battle. Very political.
Exactly. So in this situation, according to say, young fan say Ebia, President notice any adjunct party said the minimum penny can. So or you're not going to say obey you everyone. The path has been cleared. And no one says to say yes, prima facie case. On the crowd go fed across say, the petition before the actual committee now. Constitutional review committees, we really need to pay attention to this because following this issue, to be honest, so me na me president, me Kwame Judah metihui. Now my majesty may you free one. Constitution na a simple way of doing it because at the end of the day, that all proceedings has to be in camera. And it's a the response never. May Council of State and still a bit determined say there is a case and I said there is no case. It is a mania determined said there is a case. 5 now empanel there. What would they mention? And I think it was said you review. Now say even say a court judicial committee of parliament. Not parliament eto swaba and I said bibia. Because it shouldn't be this easy to remove the head of a branch of government. It is scary. It is a very, very scary thing. It was a Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah Yibi. I think it's 77. So a Justice Crab, Sammy Crab, okay. SMC4, a uniform. But apart from that, we haven't really had the removal of a Supreme Court. But this is the situation. I said, and never be a cost within the past 4 years. This current government, if you say unanimous FCO said baby. So it is a precedent said, and I mean, your opinion is you can. So, ofili set our agenda be. That's okay, so clear. Or follow procedure, or yeah, the right thing, but the right thing is very shallow. The constitution is very, 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 very shallow. It shouldn't be this easy to remove a Supreme Court justice. I don't know how this is going to turn out, but if you say, justice talking about that is the end. I mean, that basically from Nema Yakano, that is pretty much what it is.
Wow.
Let's say USR. Nipa 435. Ebedi Ato Swaba. Area Nipa 67 there is a whole trial. And yes, there is a trial. Ebetima to keep months and some of 1804. And then the last time Justice Chase in American Impeachment at the House level, but the core Senate won the trial. This is
the only Kumaka my was a dangerous, but the Wakadia and I say, Samahama per se CJ party because constitution easy.
I feel Ushi and constitution now. Constitution only a jejo. That 1992 constitution only a jeje. So I say the people wanted whatever you want and wanted it to be done. Because on per se, Obabe Chief Justice, no better now. No, Odobia ba, no, I only do a losing case in I don't know. And you know, most of our problem is that the constitution was established to ensure stability. So that one president will ensure that there's whatever he wants, he gets it. No pebia unya. No pebia unya. So I say, and for this long, we have gotten that stability. It's about time that we start amending and reviewing some of this so that we can have the institution to have teeth to bite. Because I mean, if the Council of State, President will appoint 45%. Almost somebody tell me
Exactly.
Judy Crabcoty Article 14610. No, Council, I don't know how do I call so. Said the president can even suspend the CJ. So yeah, prima facie case no cry. No 14610A. No see in the case of the Chief Justice acting in accordance with the advice of the Council of State by a warrant signed by the president, he can suspend the Chief Justice.
Yes, but if you are suspending, if you suspending,
unsuspending, but obey,
and the process, no procedure, no.
Because you that can say, I'm passing, you perceive, and
constitution, we have to look at the constitution in a context. We were coming from a military regime. And before then, you have had already 3 constitutions and tranche. And the time that people wanted JJ out for us to have our democracy, whatever he wants, they wanted it to be done. So I say, your democracy, and ye say, military have had a better hands in it.
Yeah.
And that time, last at 1992 now, we were ushered into this 4th Republican Constitution, And then somebody BSc. So we took a lot of history into breeding this Constitution.
Yeah.
So when I chamo, when I chamo, and you have to look at the Constitution in a context. And no maybe one more Constitution more. See, no show more and shada and tasum. So I say, but as we move forward, gradually, we will get there. Maybe time. By your man, so I say, in the US, it's a 4 trial. Ghana 4 trial. That's a MPP 4 war. 189 war Parliament war. Na NDC war 83 trial. Go to say MPP ni go to MPP ni.
Yeah.
But me, I know there at least no numbers no increase. It is far better than Nipa fight.
Wouldn't not too much. No to mama kokwenu wouldn't madam omi na omde baya no.
I nothing was somebody.
It's
It's
true.
because of parliament vote now. One to mama kokwenu obi ani me say eh bia and I want to people kwa opposition I don't opposition.
Exactly.
Omu yes apokunu ko matini mu. Na wo botu ko jawro ka say omu impeach chief justice na wo say o chairman o party chairman ka cho say mamu nkotu against no a o wa ko botu akotu against no. And you know, we are growing. So I say we have to give ourselves some time. I said, all these things are good. Let's experiment it. Let's proceed with it. As time goes on, we will strengthen our democracy.
But I wouldn't to say they are now Unyakuma Jew, they can say they are not present too much power, especially Article 14610. No say President Obetimi, because Council of State, said they do Council of State, I buy on Tesoro, Council of State now. Because Council of State about to say I partisan. You they see Okumase.
Council of State now, no me my president. Say no people onya na so mdwe na ofembu mano for 4 years. So I say the Council of State now no omutu no fo e from to man no kwa no enya binding. Can you believe it?
Yeah, enya
binding.
The
Council of State, the advice of the Council of State, is not binding on the president. The president can decide I mean say wafutuo. No should be able muka to muka. But the president can say me two for somante. Na say yante say obi ba kan say yes the president yentu no fo. Yetu no fo ba
exactly.
One another was there. They had the Council of State. The Council of State was I mean how powered men of God, chief justices, all manner of people, chiefs and all that, they were there. They were advising him, but no open obey. So I say, and so they were there in name, said they were there. But as some were court, in the court, I can say, the advice of the Council of State, is not binding on the president. It's not binding.
Yeah.
What to do? I say, Matisme, fa, me no more to about mammy. Say, Mungu Amano. Into what to me for some for bed. Yes, of course. It is I say, send me panel. So I see way meant to be in Yajuma. Set in emotion processes are made if you walk. No middle of a back, no my for 4 years. Get the pan office about my who that know what my until the time, you dream back, you want to say 4 years, the government has the 4 years to do whatever he wants within the 4 years, that will be the day.
But and no, you're dangerous. Say, Obiaba, obey ni be, and you're wrong. You need to say, way back because I can say, you're the free CJ, so about a electoral commission. So, but into a baby, no, so as a family, the Hontino, my boy is being for petition.
Mamcho Bibi said, the judges at the Supreme Court, so we Chief Justice in a perfect way. One said, then you be as how. Because all of them they were promoted within certain period of time. So I said, until we Chief Justice in perfect way. Why you be but who ye na? Tell me what I said. And that is what we should have at the back of our LPP.
Hello, Council. Mugoma to a human over fire, bebra. Over fire, bebra. To a human said they were on to baby. See also where we are getting to. You can glance upon say the message or there about see if you are at the end of a grand agenda, said the lawyer Bankai. This Chief Justice issue is a grandstand. It's just a ploy to remove the EC boss. Target Nankasa EC boss, because in the case of EC, Electoral Commission boss, so when ye Chief Justice now, because the Chief Justice is the one to establish a prima facie case against the Electoral Commission boss. Into most active EC boss, so say the Jude kind of man suspension cry no then you can get somebody else to establish a prima facie case against the Electoral Commissioner and remove the Electoral Commissioner so that you can get the you see, in the case of the EC, it is the CJ who will decide a prima facie case against it. So they want the CJ to be certainly out so that a petition on J Mensa can be sent so that the new CJ can establish a prima facie case and then they can remove the electoral commissioner. I've see who is to establish the prima facie case against the CJ. President, no, with with help from the Council of State, they Jude kind. It's at the end there. I see the road is clear. NDC agenda omodinam enonom. Elder say, I say, trust me, the President Mahama has also share at the end. I say there's an agenda bit to say Trump, you know, only also who say the Trump be and President Mahama, so you know that's it's just to pave the way to serve another term. Bisa and because we are heading towards a constitutional amendment. And when possible there.
Not there, it doesn't have anything to do with the CJ.
Okay.
It's a known President Mahama Peso, yeah. The current MP numbers no beat me are very, very easily.
Okay.
It doesn't have anything to do with the Chief Justice. It's more sensible, say, there's a grand agenda, say, push your cases be through, and I say, EC boards, na nipa now determine prima facie case, no, and yes, I mean, these are all things, but what I keep saying is that it is wrong. Our constitution is shallow, and we Ghanaians, and Kenya
that's true.
So this is not good for the development of our country. It is not.
Because if indeed they are no crescent, they be most speculated said there's an agenda. So who say cases oral cases are starting by say cases near bear 200 they say jail is uncle for na I am passing the uncle for creative perception said there's a unanimous FCA. And then I said the case in back out amun jailing for no. In any case, is there really something called unanimous FC? Because court every day. Is there something like that?
I'm not a politician. Because what the case in the mayor and in the
yeah, but there's a unanimous FC in the court. Is there something like that?
Yeah, the thing is that anytime a party be up with Biano, I'll say, what is our Beneda?
Oh yeah, yes.
It is anytime Obiwa Obiano, if you say, no one Obi on the Muano, what I said. But I mean, what I was saying before I went off was, I bring a start of us if you want to. NPP has still lost election and must be lost. So it is not necessarily removing the EC chairperson that will guarantee your success. That's what I said. And I also believe that not necessarily removing the Chief Justice that will ensure that whenever you take a matter to court, no, you will win. Because most of these matters, will actually start from the High Court. Most of these criminal matters, it's a start from the High Court before it may even proceed to the Supreme Court.
Exactly.
Are you going to change all the High Court judges? When NPP came, a lot of High Court had been built. A lot of High Court judges had been hired. Are you going to change all of them? You cannot. You understand? You cannot. Within the 4 years, you cannot do it. And we all have to have a good, you say, I'm breeding a good case, watertight case to court, so that it's a judge and compare myself the way you make case, you don't have any way out except to pronounce guilty against the person. So I said, that is what we should spend our time to do. So I said, because I don't really see the point of saying, if this person is there, I won't get the right hearing. So I want to get the person. I don't think that is the motive. I want to believe that there's a genuine reason why the process has been has commenced.
Okay.
And even if it happens that he has to go, there's a genuine reason why he should go. Okay. Because I don't really think that. I mean, NPP, since NPP was in power, no, and this is a unique case, and this in one cases.
Yeah, at force in the Ekromu winning.
And this in one cases, and I'm telling you, whoever come to power, no, whoever come to be the CJ, NPP will still win cases. When NDC also in opposition, they also win cases. So it's just that your perception, no, your perception, no, is such that you think that this person is the reason why I'm not doing this. And if you continue to do that, and the constitution, I'm sure about to I'm telling you honestly, because the way Jude was explaining things now, even the Council of State itself, no, now after 400 or so, no, somebody is appointing 45%. Now, who
I think I also can this terminology say unanimous FCB or so no. This unfettered or unlimited appointment. Constitution, the AMA president to appoint people to the Supreme Court. This is a problem. Because America can say we need the number of Supreme Court judges. I hear one. As a Ghana, no, the president obey me. Sorry, anopa. No, I can't say was soon that it was so far 99 Supreme Court judges. You will nominate them. And the parliament here, you will get them, half of them through.
Yeah.
So, don't you think they also count a man?
Because we read imagine as someone not me say during the elections, no, not making some of us and even my boss was suggesting say yen couple the number of Supreme Court justices appointed. This is yen timia bibia. That's it me yen no it will solve or will help some of our problems. Because then the situation is, they have no problem about it. And I say, my Chief Justice or one year powerful, and say, case be a baby. Chief Justice and panel.
I thought exactly.
And say, young fan is said, and yes, Ming Casasano, young fan is said, Chief Justice or Tisono, and the President not I in Kahuta. Or no, Abeka say, me pay way. Yeah, because I'm a Dawson into me, I am panel or muscle, I'm on the assembly. And that is one of the fundamental problems that we have. The fact that we don't have the cap. I didn't see me any Supreme Court justice 9, just like the US have. Not only increase or more age, See, I'm trying to say instead of 65, and I said, we make me now to maybe 75, and I said, Lisa, no more. And crab is a risk. And to see me and yes, then you are on right on the spot. Say that is one of the biggest issues because President Biaba no wait me packet courts now. And they are not packing just at the Supreme Court. So let's not.
Court of Appeal, High Court, they are now even lower court is court.
It's a dangerous game that we are playing in our country, and it's very, very, very sad that as Omaya, yes, we are a young democracy here, but. You say a work.
And a judge is not so Supreme Court, the Court of Appeal. There's so many Article 71. Oh, they are all drawing on government pay.
When you cap it and you increase their retirement age now, that is what they are doing. They say retirement age, you pay them for 70. Instead of maybe a 60, only a 2, then you cap it. It will help Yenina.
But you agreed with the only Jude, they can say young copy Supreme Court judges because unanimous FC tag in they my judges is because of Saudi and it's a president to be funny power pay. And there's also a power that funny or don't know.
Who say? I think there's a reason why constitution no and capono. But you see, if we think that there's a need for us to do so, the Constitutional Review Committee, will look at
but what do you think? Do you think we should cap it? Because now adjudicate the Supreme Court. America crowd or America crack, 9. And they are all Article 71 office holders drawing taxpayers' money.
If you want him say, because it's a Supreme Court power.
I didn't think I was a chair. I also know more.
Because woman also say, she say, no, the brain need GDA. Ewo lower court ni mu enti olusupa officer judge no ayen wagadre no the court appeal court so me 3 onji ndi no the court Supreme Court enti ama Supreme Court for djuma no adoso
okay
but I say adoso because cases those days in some court Supreme Court and also.
Yeah, but the council case meritorious and Sunday do Supreme Court too. Case no court Supreme Court again. In fact, that is the first thing that the Supreme Court will establish before they take the case on.
Because the Supreme Court doesn't have original jurisdiction on everything.
Yes.
And the person says, if you should do research for the past 10 years, we won't say cases are echo Supreme Court, a picture over 100%.
No, just say the problem is at the Court of Appeal, not the Supreme Court. Because what happened in the Court of Appeal,
the High Court and the Appeal Court. That's where the problem is, because also okay, me the maintain was here, me sure bibi judge naja aya kanana enti me de ba kwa appeal so am fi se nipa no me miansa okohu mienu a ni tia yeye no da
Bala the would ya be ma adjudication ho nyina so president park ho from the High Court to the Court of Appeal to the Supreme Court ni president o akoja so park ho
na me person so park because wo ma dwuma na do so and they need more hands to do it.
Are you sure say dwuma na do so na obi a person di nipa kogu ho?
Oh, I'm not sure say obi a person di nipa kogu ho keke. Sha what some court Supreme Court. Who person wunya emuaye 1 year na maye. 6 months na maye. So I say because in case one di na do so. Those days, in some court Supreme Court.
Is it also not true? So some of the judges on the Supreme Court are complaining. Say, omunya cases international. To the extent that some of them even go back to sit as a EFS and Court of Appeal judges.
And I mean, say,
be musi omuye to me empane or mumpo. Omunya cases international. Council. Oh, council.
Lawyer, give me your opinion or any serious or I said a far lawyers.
Who did you look at what I said? You man, mind to what is a gun? Your case is by a saying, young white, Supreme Court judges, council, I'm here. Who your man has some retirement in it from me, say.
She said, I think said about 18 or so.
Now 18 twice US number. US or mine kakraka 350 million people. Or more than Supreme Court judges. Now we are 30 million. Oh, is it not too much?
I fear the problem I have when we want to compare US and Ghana is that US, as a woman in singing, and no maybe could do Supreme Court to her. That's I say, and Naboko could do one. Landmark cases. So I say, yes, same now.
Because they don't have a adjudication. Supreme Court original jurisdiction. We are invoking the court. Unless there's an interpretation issue.
High Court. You attend the Supreme Court to the High Court. That's our problem. So I say,
can only be I'm interested. Can only be
you attend the Supreme Court, into High Court. That's what we have done. You attend the Supreme Court into High Court. The reason is that who High Court for now would differ. What would you mean? And say, ni pattern no more High Court no more differ. Out of 10, one show 8 boko appeal. 10 people no boko appeal no. 10 no boko no and show 8 boko Supreme Court. So what I say because one lower court nindi. Anything.
Any courts now man for reason not to believe them. Dear Tina, and go for friend that someone G court in the
and they could job I mean to me go and they never said Macacasa.
But lawyer, so shit even the US.
Oh man, oh Jimmy Manu Esibone.
Okay, but now you have a man to worry about you do say that
US
it's Casana, Obama Manuma Bomi. You do not know where which
I get you. But you then another person can
say offer Supreme Court. That's all the case court appeals court. That's the first empanelment near Nipatria. So person sadi ba even in Hano. You better someone they are corona. Maybe I ain't panel 5. And I said. Also, you need any panel 7. By the time I own for us some crime court, no one exhausted. So it shouldn't be that easy. Say, no, but it shouldn't be so. That is exactly what I'm saying. It shouldn't be so.
And I'm say the based on our constitution, sanity.
But the constitution is so amendable. Are you saying, say, in between? Can we not put an amendment in between? Say a court of appeal case, there must be maybe like to say a review. No, there must be an opportunity for review. or court of appeal level, so that we don't turn
and
the
then
Supreme Court into a high court.
Will do so. You are going to now lengthen the process. We are saying now, coaching process.
Yeah, but anyone out here now can turn the Supreme Court into a high court. Ah, frivolous case be any the call.
And then Patricia says, "Oh, you understand? So, the reason why I'm saying, say, as Supreme Court now acquire high court, and say lower court, those days, so obi judge be trying case so. Now would differ. Okoda di would tumu. Since anas opu Ghana no. Wama ye hu say okoda ni sa woda. Bia what do you mean say won? Enti no nkoda biem. Afide na wo for reasons. Church I say what you tutu. Enti I'm telling you the truth say. So be your research Ghana say. No cases na high court no. Most of them end up at the P court. And most of the cases now end up at the P court, it eventually end up at the Supreme Court.
Supreme Court, okay.
I'm being truthful.
And you their own support to see NKP Supreme Court judges number, no own support it.
I always say President what is so reasonable. No who say so be able not the 20 become one and can the 1,000. Tell me what I say. And also bad. And they say a framers of the constitution, no, or man capuntino. Uber ya no point 100 the guso. There be but in their wisdom, no, they think that a time will come. You need more. But if you don't need it, you don't have to appoint it. They don't want to hold your hands.
Okay.
Say, you can appoint only 20. And say we are expanding. The country is getting bigger and bigger. And so a time will come based on the cases you have, the 20 people will not be sufficient. So you need about 25. They don't want to hold your hand that because say Omaka 25 you by all means have to appoint only 25. And it's the minimum no maximum no say use your discretion. And then just say abuse your discretion. No,
well, that discretion is also being abused according to God. Yes.
That is it. So what I said, the framers had a good mind. Say, young person holding hands. Say for 25 pay. In case as you see, Ghana now our population is increasing. Those days, as at 1992, you're about 26 million. Now you're about 36 million. You're about in about 10 years' time, we are getting to 50 million. So and 50 million, now say you have only 18 Supreme Court judges. Hey, be a case is never no. To me, Accra land cry. Accra land case. A double set of land and crown. One case also.
You're blocking the future chance of going to the Supreme Court bench.
US state the court.
Yeah.
But it's the same format. It's the same format. And no cry. Oh, share Texas. Make Texas a movie.
Texas, more Supreme Court, New York on the Supreme Court, state, on the Supreme Court.
Times more the population of the whole Ghana as a country. Land there, what Texas now is more than 6 times the size of Ghana.
Texas, no population, yes, saying.
Share the name, the say bro 100 million.
Bro Ghana, so Music Council does to change Ghana state.
You 9 Supreme Court justices. It's the same structure now that is replicated in the federal system. Regardless of whether say a state court or say you justices, they are capped at 9. Ghana
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, my 200 years. Now, it was 68 years. My 200 years, you would do why? 200 years.
I mean, now anything further on the back on the removal of the. I'm tempted to agree more with the Jew. They kind of say, Osha 146, Article 14610. There are 2 million at my president. And maybe I'm supporting capping. There was a capping. Yeah, my president, because I will say, oh, yeah, man, of discretion, money, see a leader, so absolute power corrupts absolutely. Unya man say, oh, I'm fine, Santo. no funny panel be five that we have to one will be for 500 Supreme Court judges. And the person will come and give us the same bogus excuse. Okay, the doors from the Supreme Court. So Obia Dani Supreme Court and High Court. Let us check. Case management ni idea. There administrative things that we can do to check. Say, any frivolous case be an Supreme Court. We can work on that. Those are controllables. But I know shouldn't be an excuse. Any package Supreme Court. Obiaba not minipa beguo. Ni article 71 for me now 4 years. Be a calculate article 71. Can be more. Omunyina kutaka yemo bangalo omani sika petrol car omunyina yemo we can't continue like that.
If you say so obey president you will never say omun couple we are president pe ekaunko we have free hands to point at this 18 but what I'm proposing is that at least that constitution we are serving for more than 30 years. We should tread carefully going forward. So as I say, and no maybe what more say, yeah. Oh, say, yeah, GD, a war, yes, judicial.
Okay.
Okwa High Court, no defer. Oh, say, say case in what before. Say, Okwa Appeal Court, no defer, on say what before. Say, yes, I GD no, a war, yes, system nimua. And no ma, ebe di. So as until says I did no back. Now obi obokoko to we say, oh, I lost on merit. I lost or based on the strength of my case, That is all what is needed. So as I say, but when people are not confident that they lost on the basis of their case, if you school court one a human a bubble so. So as I say, and the framers of the constitution so no. And now more be do much in the year. Say your face is no that adrenal the no and severe purpose. We are dealing with it. We can amend it. We can review it. If you need to cap it, we can cap it because we are dealing with it now based on the happenings of today. You know, you're dealing they foresaw about 10 to 100 years to come.
Yeah.
But now it's not serving the purpose. We can amend it. That's I mean. I don't need to change your drink. You want to change your drink. So if those things are things that you feel say, yeah, man, dear, about boy and going forward, we should do so. So I said, we should do so. And, I mean, to ensure that we save money, we have expeditious adjudication of cases and all that. So I'm quite so that is it.
Okay. Jude, mami tell na mama for so join a prof idea for ya taso obeso no so chair na because Ghana for no cry fair adwin pon Constitutional Review Commission so but they am okay. This is the time we must be policing Constitutional Review Commission. Exactly. What is going there? What is on their table? Are they considering this issue? We must make this a big issue for them. We must make Jude mami tell.
Yes, in summary, I think it's a menu penny canina. Apart from the first officer, your judge, I won't say best son, I can't near money be. But the cases here, Minia Ota for MP, the court, in my opinion, I think there is a need moot because what was happening, they said they are claiming, say, yeah, the Chief Justice is being denied her natural justice rule of law, so Obitima presented the case. But it's not a denial, it is a deferred situation because further down the line,
where that right now
or more error. So in concluding, I think just like you say in America, 300 million. I think so. We can say Texas, 31 million. Maybe I mean Texas is a million population because at the end of the day, America, 300 million. Yetinia Kapuya Supreme Court to 9 justices.
Yeah, 31.29 million Texas population.
And any Ghana population I put.
And apart from population, most of us scratching Ghana.
Oh, yes, so yeah. Of and to say to me, with just a few things said, Supreme Court justices. Even if we want to consider the making Supreme Court justices a lifetime crying in Ghana now, very decisive in their cases because they know that they are not subject to any political party. Say you say NDC or no whatever obetono obabesiako say ye nana otu for mema muso etihui obi antimi me emfa na so because obetono so ye president so ye den obai no whatever obesa besia atwemako. There is also wisdom in the sa to me na the Supreme Court justices your friend is saying US and you say yes comparison there. I think that maybe it's something that we as Ghanaians we need to learn. Now you say more lifetime cry increase age limits now also retirement now because if you okay Article 71 I say I think some for actually
judges make part of a few judges can Supreme Court judges near Article 71 for 4 years to be omuka cars near the end in bungalows. Security
yes, so you're complaining about ministers. And this is a president no ministers so from your friend is saying 80 to 60. Nasa Opeja Supreme Court nimu from 18 to the OA. Ekosiwa but yeah, honestly because they are not ministers. And that's all political people. Ghana as a country, yeah, starting cut it, material to size. I think this is an opportunity for us to, like you're saying, follow and present certain papers to the Supreme Court review. I mean, the Constitutional Review Committee. No, making sure say and name be a bit more minor. We are pushing it through. More media so the minimum what the others jumano dada. Because like I said before, and near my baby sisi where your legal environment in Ghana where munke to what they say
I feel like I say any beba. I don't know Labanka said there's a big agenda. I didn't know target to buy a J Mensa. So get rid of the CJ. Then you can get a new CJ who can establish a prima facie case against a J Mensa, remove J Mensa too. But they are not council. Kojoabane can say, "You're careful," because I say, "Look, you almost change Charlotte say MPP still lost the elections."
That's it.
Elections now, it's not about changing the CJ. Elections are won at the polling stations. And what gain is a easy boss being a way we near. Report or if you don't do your homework.
Until I may start in the initial submission, make us apart from legal analysis, in my personal opinion, this whole petition against the Supreme Court Chief Justice, maybe want to say here because because the high profile position Okutano said wakoje bribe will be wakoje obikunu wayese wayene bi ankeyate. And I think that a brona is very, very dangerous. Perceive do situation be a backward to say the naming of the seat of government. MPP by a Jubilee House, NDC by a Flagstaff House. Now agro NDA this agrona too much.
Agrona too much, yeah. Jude, my mina was a baby when no near a pencil or my boy, but therefore that now will be our personal campaign.
Justice Urban, champion time here or Justice Urban be. And a Jude with Damasi. Now,
I'm not just a Saban be a home.
Hey, a famous justice.
I see.
Now, Matiania more canning. I am my idea. Nanya Tiani said, Sister 3 and Chroma no president. And I could cause a dear Sam, whether me born tougher. And I cause a jay a for those who are tempted to kill him now. And a Chroma bufu ye, no so be but number on a man quite. So he passed a quick legislation through Parliament. Any man Kroma Kwano, you know. And we are
so Kroma is Chief Justice, no, I could cause of you.
I know the Sako the Judicial Sako Besher. And the confrontation between the Chief Justice and the President and Nassim. So the time has come for the Constitution to lay down the ground rules very, very well. Now, maybe Sir President Muhammad Khan, ATR. The Macan said, Onya Chief Justice, no, on share support among for the Amano, no one Juma. Now, ordinary Okoyina di, not the officer constitution man, Ebia, that's now Moano. Oh, over to me, Sir President, Now I'm hearing here, Nanado, 16 million, 1 million votes. Because I'm on for any annual or Yajuma, but I'm on for how he left office. Miserable. Very, very miserable. And the fact that you are right to do something doesn't mean it is right for you to do it. Leave her alone and do the job. Create jobs for the people. So now, Germans also person you know. One on our conduct election, see, I'm winning. And then voters register. What the map on my mushroom? I'm a more use of voter register. Now, no one tier say. Mo yo amount for 2 tier, amount for tier, amount for Shamon. Into the Muslim Modibim, mobile criminal a financial loss case you go in more you or more. Amount for share, and to almost a year. And have a presidential Supreme Court judges. Yet Katiba 5 for cry a year.
Because Katiba 5 I will support it.
That's okay. I guess
But Barcelona can say, yeah, cases go almost dodo.
Now, assembly for him, we have to strengthen the junior level course. No money assembly year. Oh, said the announcement huni. Oko job ya ponchi, oko job ya koko, oko jobi. Next assembly and basa. Turn on the bofu. Not the economy. Into judges appointed must be people with high integrity. So, I'm running so woman the juma. Now, President and so appoint tell Mahama say why you need over 20,000 credit to go so appointed in fact ben also yam electing to me appointed nipa so my nipa adwumanye o me stop galam say o me ya kwan yie o me ye school yie when you have care yie na dismiss as ne de just say won hunu so to say what council of state tell the bia mekan council of state in fact will be any so sika hunu asamu beka president pa na ofa opa wamfa krobodu say titi parliament o country abuja say kofi asma kan yansi anti o yete e toso mo pa nanso mo matem for ye first year the aduma o chena mo de nam ye na de we bae say na Ghana obi so ye na de school feeding program bae and so what obi bottom sika exactly. And so what? Obi sika yan friend Jubilee House. And so what? Where's the minimum the block buy a day? And penfo ya module credit your mom. When was in the bottom sika or the IBB? Common command na allowance Ghana National College 1948 Rouse and Cape Coast University form call demonstration. Madam Demo Kakra. School you are modi. And Chroma so Ghana National College. And a woman call her. So, on to uncle Batman said, what the bottom sika, and then candidate upon so Canada mayor president, what the bottom sika, aye, and my baby. And since you could for do a dear me away, or saying, Kufu Mahama, we didn't know more. They said they were just in office. No more plano, Obi Honoka Scano, Opa so deep your fire duman when you're beardy. And to almost cry because Nioma de Dumano. The echo bottom door so syndrome the judgment. Never find Sahan.
Okay.
Into President Mahama, stop getting this lady out and do the job you were elected. You weren't elected to dismiss people. 20,000 people, no reinstate all of them.
Okay. But bro, NDT supporters no back say we can a TJ the end so I can't agenda because now they're Jude making reference to Moya campaign come say they will clean the judiciary. And you also come imagine that one comfort to Obama.
No, I don't come home. What they don't sound for. I don't come home. And you justice will near Busian for. Say you were saying former Chief Justice Akufo and we have been saying another council of state to home.
So for Akufu, yes.
I had never council of state to home. One were recharging Article 71 benefits. And also a council of state to home. Or qua, ever say Jan Quine. Oh. And Mama, appointments room, spread your wings out. Spread out, and make Ghanaians feel your essence in power. Spread out.
Prof, I mean, I say, Nana, I may bow, but I mean, can message you see value to say, a prof, wabba pan, now the Ababeka, when I am almost a wabba joining. Stephen say, I'm not sure it's because they want to win election, but they promise people say,
any some individuals, so when they come to power, they also give them positions in the court. You know, also to me, CJ, if you said about they can give those people these positions. I could say, Jenny, say if you had a major problem in Ghana in politics in equalization, removing the CJ will pave way for EC boss to be fired. At the end, no simple and they will just want to remove the CJ so that EC boss so umbet me, you know, everyone. Mohamed say Barika de Sala more grease and go to Penifo no Mabeka saying any explanations of the Amayeno. John Awuni see this man, prof there. Who kind of cry and go for person will do at them? Would they prof experience or one thing or all his experience over 50 years of teaching? Into a casa, how they tear never to go to you. Don't come and insult him because I experience who chew money bet near pekra, you won't get it. What you say? CRC, if we are to cap our Supreme Court, we would have judges who are specialized in constitutional law, chieftaincy, land, and all that. It's more specialize it, and yet the same thing. In fact, say your courts are specialized, your land court, your commercial court, high court, and your human rights court, your specialized courts that are judges here, Juma. So until no so I'm a pressure back for my son, your fast track high court. No, I bet Ghana say President Mahama keep doing what you are doing, just sack the CJ because he didn't say a kahoni a to Obama or no sack no. Who's a wasakino. Nana Pacho, good evening.
You, Stevia, Major Sonam Pacho, what to say?
Yeah,
Meaning, tell me, your phone now, where Yama barricade the Salah,
Barricade de Sala, yeah, barricade de Sala.
Barricade de Sala, yeah. And then so Yamia Yadumo de Waba, a vision for a better and same. But me problem by Kwame war. Ewo Ghana any amanyofo na ebe nyina ne say like ase obia dwene oma ho echen oman Ghana ho wohwe president bi obeba bia wo hwe noma wo ya dachi ofiri so a kese ne ho enkyere no enti wo hwe ne a Oma statistics say about CJ remove ana. Ni omo ye nyina kire se na nado aye enoma bia se wanhwe ya CJ no obibi ombeye no obeto ne to because enya wono na appointee no enti opekwan a obefa so a ono nso noma a obeye no obekwa obia nka ho hwe na nka aden na nka die na asi CJ Ibaye, me who be bia waya a problem because we're diama MPP, we're diama NDC because on one a jai John Jinapo, on one kasa and a kasa Jinapo, womu and no man or ye no ambulance no yomu for muhunkodi, 18 a day. Enti dia nkwana NDC omo gino obiase a wohwe parliament the whole parliament nyina ye de amamo MPP time na mo na mo sa group parliament ho ema ni amo pese mo ye bia mo de ye 2020 to 2024 abambabe ena eye speaker of parliament enti nkadie biem Sese adenti na monhwe so emu oman no ema enipa honto no ema nipa nya ne fa ahodie ema nipa ntimi enya adwuma nye na sa mo betena so 100 years kura no a matena so akinchina ye remove CJ ansana mo atomo mu free wa na mo electoral commission mu free electoral commission na Ghana na mo pese mo fa asase ni nyina anasa den ensuo na say no ko ne ko boama ensuo a say no yenya nsupa na yenom eno ne adwuma ye de mawo eno ne nooma ye ka sebra beye
okay
yan ka sebra ne be pam CJ na ya na bi mu ka se ena nanado pamo Charlotte to say Charlotte was said on one in Crawford and didn't call you. And you will be a quatre be the command. And say, ye
I say MPP for breast so na
I'm
ni
not
free one
to
ti omo kan
any woman who am can one. wɔn mo de ne kɔɔ yɛ sɛ dwuma a wɔdii yɛ ni nneɛma a wɔkɔɔ so yɛ yɛ ni ɛno ɛna mmaa Charlotte Osei adwuma bɔɔ no CJ deɛ na wayɛ yɛ appointing no yi onyanya 2 years mpo enti deɛ nti na kyinkyinaa yɛnyi na di
Okay.
yɛnyi na di a no ayɛ dɛn
Okay.
na ɛnoɔma bi wɔ Ghana ɛsɛ sɛ yɛka ne plain ɛde kyerɛ wɔn mo. Number 1 containers na ayera no this afia yɛntena ase ɛma containers wenkoa deɛ saa containers wenkoa deɛ obia ntumi mfa politics bi amam because electricity no yehia enti sɛ MPP ni na
But sir, enemy Bojina po voice what here see he adwuma na no be no they will make sure they get it.
On say ordane na no
One dane na no o say omo be kwa koche
dio before no o say wo trans omo ye
transition team transition committee in it no.
Yes omo ye no omo atwere wo mu say container ni ye 3,000 and they go but o tie ni yo and 3,000 na wo mo call ye no or suma ma ye call ye no na ye 2,500 me be so before so ordinance sha se no na container do do say na na go
Ordinance sha den ate won fa ne sha hwe ate
enti some of your transition no one sign
there be transition omo sign hwe MPP for na be mo report say this is the state of the country
no be ama report no unko hunu e then na accept it
na transition no ti ase must see everything na the transition no ti ase report na government na all free power ne de mema wo ba no a report
na
de mema
na se ono ankasa kra wo report wo
yes obey ye nominating no e no call port
or call port wo enti container 3,000 guwa and 1,000 difference in
na so no onye port worker so he will not see and dem blame jina port
and this is the via the yes rani say they say ono na oye a director another ono na minister a woda ano enti say the atwa ne de say MPP ni na fire say NDC ni na fire ye here container 2,500 500 no credit ka ho no excess wo mo de ka ho ye de enim ni say o say 3,000 enti esanye abro any baye any nipa bonisema say vienti container aba na ebe boa o mine no enipa dasani timisisa container no e de koma China ni say enti o mine we pa enti enipa na team enti ati adwene na da yetrim se wote honom electricity ntimi nyina so yetimi aboabo sika no akokra containers enipa dasani te honom se masisa containers no di akoma China ni se won say eniema no keke won say no na Ghana moka ana sister be kasa say kura ya na ha ye ho ya na waste time okeke because enye nipa nete enete chese wodwene ho a wonti ase say port mwa na containers yatimi apie na yate radio yi so ka say container ira from port there's a fell in port any wu enye nim guase enfata ense enye time
yeah another me say because but that's why there's security at the port omuna also protect the port no Cromford the oba onu obewi akọ but wo we security no dey any say obe protect it. So the question is the omo protecting what work did they do? And then I mean China for a little bit so omo picture be go and I'm not buying that cock and bull story. It's not about that China, it's about who was in charge at the port at the time when the containers got missing. Omo na o see a omo the Cromford the also no oba obewi. But I could see good evening. About so microphone where do no?
I don't know. So baby, I be doom ne there, but microphone no. One can say doom, so I'm not able to help you to.
Okay, Stefia. Yeah, good evening. Nyankopon share na adwuma pa ya. Meta hwe pa ba na my first time. I mean,
Oh, okay.
Miss me phone na miss ma che ma dwenche, but me I am mostly more comment section on. But Stefia, let's get it. Let's get like something straight because Ghana at a point in you better na brucha ya ku school area ya tia ya adwuma. But Ghana is a country, me who say sometimes young penny for no more very serious. They cook stories and then they just come back to tell us what is to believe, knowing that majority of Ghanaians will just buy into that stories that they are telling us. Fast forward, this container issue, as we say, I don't know. Say during the transitional period, no. When edit, revealing when now transitional handing over notes no more say no. And as I'm back saying there's no national security operative.
There is national security. In fact, there are more than 7 security agencies or customs or national security or police or soldiers or they have my head. You must say they are all there.
Yeah, I know. Because like Okoport crumpus, Clear, Oka crampana, the kind of rigorous and bureaucracy we are obefomono and easy, just a one car and more to talk of large containers, not without any proper explanation to Ghanaians. They are just taking Ghanaians for granted. And I must be honest. And I'm maybe one they should and I Ghana for now, so it do baby you can't be. So if you can't be. They can't be and to do with like CJD no. CJD the constitution gives the president and I also say constitution and Kasawasa Ghana for sure because too much powers has been given to the executive and sometimes as a the constitution say you can also ultimately but use discretion and discretionally or no where they be favor or no in party into no on there a bemano big open doors for opposition to capitalize on whatever he or she is doing. The whole motive they say they will get the woman justice token from there and then they will just do what as they promised before omoya campaign no the some kind no me tia de be me tia Ghana news omo campaign no be nyina me tia say they will the judiciary they will clean the system up because nana do apaki court especially Supreme Court or the nkofo na kogo said by and nana time issue with outer force and energy apart ambulance case you went to the court and you won the case. These are the same people and another appoint you more than normal fairness in our justice system and in here not you bringing your people on board to do your agenda or something. It wouldn't help. The BS are they shouldn't lose on my focus. Maybe MPP die hard MPP fan. It's in my blood. But at a point, we say the omo number lose election. Clearly, number sister if you are over had be na ubom no omudi do at them. And so in some now can come for ebi. Ana omo putting into practice ebia and kebe save home. And I say be combe lose kwamponanka. It wouldn't be that massive. It wouldn't be that massive. President Mahama, I like him personally. He should stay focused. He should do whatever he can do with it within his means, just to make life very comfortable for the ordinary Ghanaians. Because need they be a phone call but so my gonna say ubu ni bibi ya or 500 cedis and 1,000 cedis because So we be juma de amenya and no man kitty bone must be president mama shouldn't lose focus onye juma said the Ghana for no eto abandonment massively the person like or your mom no uncle so na onye mom na omedi we Canada nature will catch up with them and no and so we want to remember medasi
yo brackets me na what we bring so no views out there but Chidi, good evening.
Even is there fear now pomo
Adoma conversation you.
media there bra kufi kind na me ni adwen latter part.
Okay.
Whether upper class is a CJ no is a easy no, at the end of the day the reason why Ghanaians voted for you is that they will see change in their life. So the standard of living in society and you CJ now was a the be justified and the standard of living in society. And you easy na be a juma amount for you to retain power because at the end of the day no, if you change the EC chair no crown is the people who are going to vote for you and they are the polling station guiding their vote. So whoever that they voted for, so yeah, Juma Papa, also 1 year Juma Papa, to send in Yayan Kufi, or Mitiko Kufi, who can't reach your man, no Muntium, and upper class, still the bottom line is say, the panel page my no, Thomas page my Unyaye. Unyaye, no other Soyako to about Ama, when Yasua, or no other Soyaga to 80. And only idea here because for me, I don't see the essence of you taking and as you see everyone say Nipana packet court on. Just make a good case. Build a good case and send in there. At the end of the day, they are human beings and they don't just apply law. Common sense is also part of it because the judge has emotions. He understands how love is. How to a divorce procedure and no. Sometimes this issue go on man. And yes, some teen be a small misunderstanding. So if they separate for some time, these people know a bit to me. And yes, I know I grant your wish. Just build a good case and go to court. And if you say EC chair, I be now on penal, we give you on my at the end of the day. What Afrajan says still stands. Say elections are won at the polling station. One you a year polling station, not a home put here and no. The person I didn't by name between music because Kuman Precedent be here. What about best say EC be already? It's no banana so best and also an also no Uber twas means also very and on the ECG containers now I sometimes it's Kuman Siana meet me some say painful who is a as a young crabby ye friend in your son. I just say Yadjun ye bima ye Yadjun if you say ye you the minister on a year about parliament Bekache said 2,500 containers, ECG containers in the port. You after some weeks now Bekache say 1,300 IRA. If I ain't a and Kofi was a good question. Say you need security operatives or port one. It's why it's now or clear sir and you may let's look at the chin.
It was not cleared. It was not cleared. Because according to the demurrage bill, crowd, 1.5 billion demurrage.
It's one of her mass our containers in the free port one.
And only as some seven
beat me by side and one. No, and me mean is it, and then it's the Mustafa Bandika say Uncle Chin a pool a friend of mark need to beat Mahama. One hour Bama or catches it to Nipana Okono. Ya pam the bear 3 months a Okono. Or no, 8 me a day on my mouth with him before container if you want him. I say, move catching him, you know, I mean, Chassis.
Okay.
Say Nipana, ya pam the so Unkunu. Or no, your question is a
yes, I only
baby. Meanwhile, okay. Some of them investigation, yet Tikuma will see. And where the more topic, quick one on my mammy, Irene. And when I'm a teen name, I say, sometimes Nyakupon, Boa, no, do baby, I fear what she would when you may born with 2 Quema air. Yama, many Irene, and you can see a dear politics, and be politician, you could Yarembo than Abunze, eh, you say, or Yare, you know, yet Tikuma, Mount Foot in your kidney issues, and you Muku India. Say he knew ya cry woman na e bia doctor na o he no anu say hu say yare we die e bia Any expert be our Ghana Hanum see. It be an expert for no more than you by Dusia. It's winning there for the meantime, the Fananco. It doesn't mean say a doctor say whining any papa, or your papa. But no henna de brona hoarding soon and I say what's your kobe beer because kidney transplant, you know, outside, we now going us outside heart and other organs, baby now a academy you do on my what's I buying a no like gas to equip our hospitals for us. Send a beer, sign your money, bring in everyone say it's a ramadas.
Yo, yeah, Nancy Chidi. Brett Champo, my embra honum. Mr. Champo, good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Me da se bebre said that
Thank you.
Baba program so.
Yo.
The toss be my memo wo panel listening na baso meti wo mokasa wo mokan nyina mani agi bebre. Bibi kakra bi na me pese me kama yenuanu mo wo fie omo so enya bibi kakra wo de nyina yesuan. Baby kakra bi na me no nya adwene baako baby a me no nya adwene ye whereby I was say yan capo ye Supreme Court judges no say ye hwe US ha ye tie ya me fa bibi te say New York ha ye kakra New York na woni Supreme Court appellate court and other courts and sana other states ni nyina ye keka obia de bobom ni yo nya sa 50 states here. See, ye ka judges ye tete course no so a ne ye ka woma ento ye Ghana Supreme Court judges ye what today and sana ya saba federal no ankasa DC eye 9 and it said no opani ba ko echemo no see ye hwe cases a egu Ghana ye Supreme Court court wona e dossier see ye kapo ye na ebe ha ye daddy ade betima boa ye ni se pese ye kapo ne dia NSS yetimi nya bibi te se bia regional Supreme Court ewo each region na yetimi pe bibi se ebi nipa 5 etna sa cases bi ewo region ne so ebekọ sa regional region or regional Supreme Court so mo antima enni anaso mo timi di ne sa asema anyi obi da na fe wo dia ba national and no and bia a hono so ye fa bibi to say 9 or 10 or so
But your regional high court say Ghana. Every region be a high court.
Every region be our high court but obi a say high court to the ebua de fo what they call appeal court. Appeal court to the bua de fo wie wantiasia or person o they call Supreme Court. And no na call national and what that problem says obi a how akodi. What about say regional Supreme Court? And when the region be at Nasa cases in the so.
How about regional court of appeal, mom, instead of regional Supreme Court?
Exactly. Yes, I see in your bit, sir.
Okay.
Say aside sa national appeal court no. Yenya regional appeal court and fa enyina obium.
Okay.
Say the be cases na obi e maso e de national Supreme Court no. And so be ye den.
Ebete. Okay, very well.
That me be mudia ebeboa ye bebre. The tosu be ma me pesa me kire madwe nyina wo ho eye. Ye ma me asema abai. Se yanhwe ya ye di ojene kese bi na eba beto ye man Ghana so. Ye nyina ya gye atom se buchia miensa ene ye de bebu wo man. Judiciary, legislature and the executive. Senei adie wo ya boye kokose sana tokro bi da baby yetimatena wa 32 or 30 years yen hunu se sa tokro yensi hu kwan a ye benya obi amana ba bedi oman ne so na ne party ebeba ne beka se ye ni Supreme Court Chief Justice enya adwene therefore ye befa tokro we so e di epiana sinchen. Yesre ebia ira mahama ene na ben constitution ye kutei omo ankasa party ene drafte me gide yese bia Dr. Ayeni wonene doma sese omonya dodo ewo ye parliament or legislature or mobeti shisham rebia judiciary na say chief justice and the remover no ebe entrenched.
Oh, okay.
See ye bibi say SSA yenya apart from baby dear 146 no air cano yesade legislature ne beka won say wo mu ankasa no SSA senya more than 2/3
Okay.
votes.
Ansana yetumi yi no. Okay.
Ansana yetumi yi na free ho president no ho odin ko ano eso beti.
Okay.
Say president na ho odin ekuta no so ye papa 146 no tokura da ho no enye ketwa. Papa ni beti makase ene ya ma suspend a chief justice. Papa ni beti ma suspend no. Based on what 146 is telling us no.
Okay.
Beti ma suspend no. But me jide ye say ye Ramahama wanya nadwen say obema Ghana ebutu. If we say amount for your comparison be say comparison be say ye aban bi ba ma ye electoral commissioner no, and therefore as I say ye fa kwan bi so na ye di chief justice ne ye den
okay
the sad ni nya be mu pe party bi obeba power bi abe na adwen set sad ya ene se mo fa say di ye say ya as I say me ye say banye say ne de bu o man Ghana amempo me de ma no ba wie the way ye democracy no yes ya susom ababe PSA no ye manenye ye nyina ye de na yen somo sana baby a ehonye no yenduadua hoye na yen som na yen fakọ na kasi ye bu sa judiciary no ye ma sa ade no atofoma ebe hayeye
nothing. Mr. Chambo, you know what's a that's say no be kind home. That's bebre. Mr. Aka, good evening.
My visitor here. The same me never.
Na ye hu ye mpa che nti
Me tie nyina sister here. You know electricity cables no. Akoba me ne akoba kra ye hu program. Me na me tie na yi some ya me tie yi. Enti obi eye daddy eye hu video nyina ba be kire. Oji eda na ye catch me kana me say me wi aka me frena kama send ya bro na ka wo wire dey. Ka wo so ahwe video ni bi because baby o mo koyem koyi ni nyina bibia ga na ye adwuma nye ne no mo start ye yi no o mo ya chew enti link wo ho a mo ya we say no ma ekoso no enti nye say bia ade no enyira ayo ayira o mo ye o mo aye Chinese for na ye say adwuma no o mo to enye say bia ye connection bi say bia o mo ni mo hwe o ekwan fa so free port o nyina dia awe o mo nim akwan bi time o mo ye bibia video ni nyina ho no a ni nyina ti na no krampom yi ni nyina enti nya ade no ayira said na wo kan enyira ayo ye onipa a omunanfo.
Well, we are going with official government statement. Official government statement say ayira is been stolen.
Stolen. Na me tell stolen no ade no de ayika no no kre because you better yes say gu honom no one me an count ni nyina say the people work na de man no say but ade na asi that time no mo ye campaign no amoye to aba no na ho dada o the time ye to aba nya na adwuma ne koso dada akoso more than a year ago saga na ye adwuma ho na o ye video avoid
all these things is irrelevant we must get it back.
If you make catch us the make say the Japan kan enye se bia onu okoye no hunu se ade no kokai na ese you people ye de man no gina say dudo se na ho what you say people work the man but say no nya hunu say sa ade na ekoso before answer na mo ba ban ni mu
okay
na ekoso before and you know people the man no ejitum say dudo se na mim say o na nim say na ayira and you obeka no na onu nya hunu that means ade ekoso dada o that time I to abani nyina na man for ye operation na dada o ton ade na nkofo de eye sa adwuma na dada enti nye afei ye mo ba ban mu na ade na si o
okay
MPP for what me MPP
but solution is I say
solution o nyina say interview ye nyina ma ye normal report da me yimpa bo report minim Minim say adwuma ne sitie. Untimi mfa ade mfi hodom empia bonche oda na obi entimi ka say obi ehunu. Bibi wase na de wase no yenim ba bi asoso ni free. Enti omo mo duty anytime ade ni pie nyina bibi CC camera bibi a hodom. Ye betuma trace hu date no omo mo duty any mpanifo for mu say sade na Japo ka say ye behwa kosi ase say MPP ni o say NDC ni o. Ene de ma yemfa politics mem. Mommy and kind of question on man and cophobia why in good at a sister if you are not make a container be work by duty because you know man you be a chase and you charge you Satam 80 million 70 million no container and your P said the
rules normally more port in your container be an ye
if you make catch out say minim say rules the all can and create but I'm telling say you're in for custom not a custom for any penny woman shed down almost seen in your moye. Na atamesi kan ani bre sister if you no mebo yemfa nya Ghana for maboko no na che na we no akwaya band ye ntira akwaya band ye ntine ye ka ye katasu mo ye MPP ni ndisi ene kwa me ka chan say empanimfo ni bi ni mu bi ade ntimi fi port wono de jam ka say ye me animre na yemfa nya MPP ni ndisi nya nka tuzo say MPP ni na ye o say ndisi na ye yo e say no kwede de ni agi no ma free ni pakon ho nko ade de yakohu physical nya se bi e intro ye mi hunu before 3 months ago kra I who video nyina ba moti nipa ne ya adwuma ho wono ma ya adwuma na cha wono ho bi o video bibia time mo ye no omubu ayi nyina akotugu ahyi ne adade nyina mpanifo nso kwa ba bia the same company no a pepepe bibia clear the same ayi na kai no they say ho no mo nko chese ha no mo ne free ye nti he fa de ne kwa bonten enti nipa bi nim hu bi enti ehwetwa bi emfa nsi ase we nye na po na ho ahwan se na po so hwan yo o ye MPP ni o NDC ni o onipa ko dis kan oman bofo obon man no oman ajapade o we nye obi dia na obi akowia oman ne dia ya bobosia na mo oman kwenya skan ko ye ye ade ntine timi bi pia bontene e kwa be na fa so bi pia bontene
me no ya adwen whoever is involved in the law no must deal with the person
this afia me obi antrim obi okan obi ase timi achi nipa ko because me say sempanifo bi ni ase a ana nipa bi ni mu a containment mi mpia free na dai yenyi ka so Ghana yenyi no mo Ghana me importer mi import baba Ghana what you say me the cast back Ghana beton minim the maker I know what I'm saying
no I know that obi anju wachinye I don't think say obi abeju wachinye obi anju wachinye the way a port security gate to crowd be film no be 10 asana there's no way bet me pay a port without a nti ende obi ano ya adwen
I didn't can appear bonte kwasa na this power a pia bonten and normally be ready to pia bonten ma tonye ne no mo ya business no enti nye and this time on by here o but Japan the people the man no asem no waka ho asem and okwa no ko hu sese na esi because I case na ba bonten na man fo ani nko ho
okay
o maboko no na che sister fia nye ne
okay
enti am ye ni me hwe ya de
yo saka man na wase I think obi ano ya adwen say was here me ni e de ne ekwaje ye ne maba yentumi ma ne ma ne yira because wona ukoyi wo ka ketewa bia na say yango ye be ju the morage pepe so mbacho good evening
sister Fia.
Mbacho enti
yeah, first of all me touch on CJ in the case like the removal me the moment government changed I have the mindset say there are some positions where there are some people they will definitely lose their position. Me when Dan Paris own came, I wasn't surprised. The anybody said there are other positions that they will also fall or they will also follow suit. And with CJ, or entering a move there will always be a loophole somewhere that they will capitalize on to get her out. And with the petitions are ever out on one individually, she thinks the petitions are just shrouded in some kind of being actually down or more just to pull it out. But me, I know say if you are a cost robber from where that they will get it out, same as the EC, she will also go. Or the other case, I said it, they will go because politics is about trust. The moment the person see one or two things about you, knows that you are not on his side or on her side, they will find a ways to get you out. That's how it is. Down parade, they say, me at least expect to say it will happen. But now him say then it will come out say he will go.
But I am my idea say be yes
if it's not good.
Because CJ they say there obi about to CJ from the previous government omu yini say this is the first time.
Yeah, but that's it.
I think I took over from 2012 MP before Betono. He was there until he went on retirement. And Omudi Obi for share name. CJ the happy say under Fourth Republic with the exception of they're not profit share from Nkrumah, but for the public idiot. Yeah, shut down who CJ position is other.
But
See,
if you
change
always say,
policy, they are baby about change.
trust, what's the
But
politics now?
CJ, the omu changes, sir.
And almost change you by say the moment is an appointed idiot, and if the government sees that they will have loopholes to manipulate her, obviously they will do because they know that there is a perception. Say she does her things in a different way to them. You understand? In the end, the way they don't trust. It's about trust issues. Nina, it boils down to trust issues, and it's in politics. Baby, okay, you more baby for first no. There's some kind of trust issues or one year you just leave the job. That's the same thing happening. And unfortunately for her, there are some like they said there's a petition. People have petitioned against her. The idea, mama, I mean, a for petition. They said he didn't believe say it true. I think that's what she thinks. As will be a man.
No, yes, don't believe it, but she is entitled to see a copy of natural justice.
She's entitled though, but she just wanted to find out if indeed is it true or is just a fabricated stuff.
No, CJ nim there article 146, and she knows. It's not. She knows said there's a process of removal of CJ, but rules of natural justice just all the assembly to be so no. So it's on that basis still no busano, yeah. But she knows say the provision is there in the constitution.
I think fair enough, and I know say whatever way, if you're there, she will be shown the exit. Same as the EC is a thing these political parties they do, and it will go on and on and on until said we have a dictator. That's it, a radical dictator. And you so on your idea or yeah, I will be a mekabibia. That one aside, now Judoka say it will be very important for us to cap the Supreme Court judges, because if there are large number, that is where there is manipulation. And I side with him, because if you have a number of 9, it will be very difficult for you to manipulate. But if you have a large number of 18, you can decide which judges, that will fall to your side. Anything amount for there be amount for all perceptions that is a unanimous thing, because they know obviously the chief justice will handpick people that have the same ideology. That's the perception that came out. I believe in the capping. The capping will help. If it's 9, we know it's 9. It's very difficult for you to manipulate. And your hands are always tied. But if you have large number, people for some years, no near case grant and shoulder, which I've heard say judges need be a clear complaint. They say they don't get cases to sit on. I believe in the capping.
Okay.
And I'm going. The second one has to do with the ECG missing cable. I think the best thing is we know where OSHA report now. Prof. Now. Basically, there's some kind of corruption in there. Like even with procurement processes, there were breaches. We're sourcing. No competitive tendering. OSHA already means when that time I read the report in India. There are so many gaps as to even procurement. Nyamani be good ports, Omo best car almost is Kenny. And exactly. You realize that there was a deliberate attempt for them to have their way to, do their business. Because Mama Kraniama, Muslim Hianiama, Makraba, Ababe Drupot, Mufes Camrani Mrs. Kenny. Then the thing is also at the port waiting for us to be auctioned. No, they have people they've connived and do because can report that there are so many breaches. I don't think so. Pretty, own company, you do that thing.
I know they're easy in Kwao. Idea. For containers, there's a whole group mafia.
A cartel.
Government institutions. The name of Bani Achadam delay. Not the moral action auction. No, be a fair. It's messed up. It's a whole way.
Even with the people, the agent, shipping agent, there was no competitive tendering. Like so sourcing, like we've handpicked people as that with Sikano cry and doesn't merit the container now, But to read the report, I said there are so many gaps, and I said it was a deliberate, calculated attempt to just make money out of.
Okay.
The ECG procurement. It's just
and I make us say, procurement authority reporter. Any Hong Kong we there were institutions any auctioneers and more Ghana almost so omni we mu schemers we mu ye adwuma. Oko akọ habo auction da. Ubekwa ko nyina as an ordinary person to hwe omo crofo. And there yeah, I'm telling you, you know, and yeah, this is just a tip of the iceberg. But I mean, now so. Black good evening.
Yeah.
Mami Tio.
With a quick one, starting free electoral commissioner. Mr. Electoral Commissioner, starting free CJ.
CJ, okay.
Yeah. CJ no as also be a case. It was predictable that they were going to get rid of it. I think during the time I found marking court for our speaker last now within a couple of days, Supreme Court sat on it. That was the loudest. The NDC made us aware, so mobile. They're not going to let it.
Okay.
Because they'll be fighting for herself for about 3 years, and she still wouldn't empanel any judges to sit on it. So, yes, I know. That day, they made us aware. It's way the surprise. We knew it was coming. But, I think one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in Ghanaian politics was Inauguration Day, when a female CJ was ushering in a female vice president. That picture is still bent in my mind. Like, it was so beautiful. So for it to kind of end this way, and should I nyamide.
Ebi okomu the oba CJ fufro na beba. I don't know mom there.
Well, I would have thought, say, whatever they thought was pushing Tukono to make the kind of choices she was making, the time that if someone said now the executive na pressure to make these decisions that she was making. Mobile, you should know better and don't push her to be making those decisions. You know, you correct that. You make sure say that does not happen in your reign. Now you're afraid. Woman bear 1 year, 2 years, and she's still making the same decisions you thought were skewed at. Then, you know, you can start the process to try and remove it. That's what I would have thought when it came to that. But I think correct this. We should correct this. I mean, everybody that, including the two lawyers, say this host has to be, I say, it's really host in the review. And I think as long as we allow precedents to have a big chunk of a big space when it comes to appointing CJs, there's always going to be presidents who will come and will not like the CJ. And I think that Pandora's box was open when Akufo-Addo decided to fire Charlotte. Once now, can we say we see that this is the first time it's happening in the fourth. So after the electoral commissioner, nobody had fired the national commissioner in the Fourth Republic. See, me Kaita Akufo-Addo was making this. Even people from the MPP, some of them said no. If you open this Pandora's box, nobody is safe. Obia kwai wo hu bia say yin na dibia obi ba obi make sure so be there untimi nkafe because when the kind open the box no one sounds so no leave it right now. Secondly, port assembly last week now mo kabana me drive it na me timi maso. It's so funny. It's just comedy, pure comedy. Miss the port obi our trail bridge that kakre bi kra and as obi bi wa bridge Ghana bia our port the you know say you count baby security tight for Ghana me see Jubilee House Grand report with me for Pete who ni pano kra walking out of port no enye easy sir.
Exactly.
To tell us 1,000 and coins containers, 40-footer containers, every porter abroad with the military. Come on. They know about it. Jinafo should have a spine and go through this and make sure say he dots all his I's and crosses all his T's. whoever is in charge. Aya chrono no my boy is a syndicate. Chrono no or boy no uncle Sikano Mia China Nino uncle my MPP Sikani view. And uncle my NDC Sikani view. Whoever or Mukom who bomb Mudi Sabo New ya chioma. Let's deal and I was here chioma. Then there's a court, baby. I can find a Ghana police in a good case. Baby, I can find there's no way I think I see it chom. 8 million foolish case. Unfortunately for a more person a foolish case. Maybe I can find a watertight. And everybody that has been involved. So I don't know. Yeah, Oma Koji, they didn't go through the process of taking them out in the choir. Every security person in the has to be fired.
Hence must roll.
Say a COFA system no soon appear. The ECG people that were involved and a port for now that were involved, so their heads has to roll. So when you're asking a couple all those people have to face the consequences. So now
okay.
And last one, now I think you made a question. Okay, we say US like our court system, no. You think a judge where you're liberal, judge where you're conservative, but we don't complain. The reason why it's like that, and they say ideology and partisanship is different. So if you himself judge way or you're conservative, or the abortion case go whether you are NDC or MPP, Republican or Democrat, he is against abortion, period. Partisan there, and then NDC no, or you're against abortion. A Chinabane MPP or he's for abortion. That's different. And I'm not just say you're not predictable. And our court has to be predictable. So Oshada at the Adebo Bikonachia. And was said your decades you are either manslaughter or murder. Now you would the Adebo be a corner cast okay with the Anyashi. One shada. You should just go home scot-free. There's going to be a problem. Because at that time, we know, say, it's not being predictable.
Okay. Yo.
It's your court, there. Say, ideology any problem. Capping also making us so we should cap it out, maybe by 20 or 21. And just stop it right there.
Yo. Okay. Back on me now, I say 21, no, I'm supposed to do so, because you need because we in 4 years we are still under exgratia. Article 71 is can be. David, good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Sister Fia. Yeah. Unfortunately my tree is not that strong.
It's
so
okay, you can speak English. Go ahead.
All right, good. First of all, I'll start with the CJ case. You know, one thing I've observed with the whole CJ thing, the whole thing started, you know, like the period where Akufo-Addo started appointing these judges. And then, you know, people used to say, oh, what would they say? They say, oh, the people are retiring. You know, the Chief Justice, at the Supreme Court, the justices are retiring. So that is why it is his constitutional mandate, you know, to replace them. So he keeps doing it. And even till the end of his tenure, he wanted to still push some through. I don't know whether you observe something of that sort. But it happened. Oh, sorry, just a second. Sorry for that shortcut. So even though it was still happening, so they have to find a way. Oh, sorry, something I've entered my eye. Let me just clean that and I'll rejoin back.
Okay. Yeah. If you prefer that too, Mr. Amizo, also good evening. Mpacho, say microphone. Okay. That's all. Mpacho, kasa yedio.
First of all, me da say one man me kwan say me mra shows kakra.
Yeah, that's it. So
now say Ghana judicial system no any US ha no difference won't be brave. Na no na me pese me make a comment kakra wo ho. Chrome has say feel say me ba more than 2 decades ni me who say you remove judge be from his or her position.
Ana Jude be kire mu nta mo retire wa konya mo we just wa be any muta Ghana constitution is different. Ghana they only 70 abeko.
And there were 2 kinds of judicial system na wo Chrome has say. There was state there and there was federal government. Na enye case bi ala betim da ko federal court. And I say US Supreme Court enye case bi cases be to say bank robbery.
I know I'm just do that church I don't know another issue.
Okay,
yeah, but church the difference because Ghana constitution case be an Supreme Court. Your case a Supreme Court and your case a court lower court. Yeah.
Now it seems that Ghana constitution has a problem. And then also parliament etimi make amendment kakra ewo ho. Said by president bia etimi remove any judge bia from his or her position until say obeko retirement. Sabane sanedia you case be crack court you can determine the end result of the case. Because Ghana for now be say case where there e bia happen that na ruling by and Senate the whole by means the Senate to be a body be crowd but obesusu obadwene ho kakra. Emma ni obey no kwa bi cramp na obejai. Na no obi nso ka say o say judges no wo munya case bi ni o say dey be dey fa he go see a
lawyer back na na ka say cases no bro omo so but obi so ba be ka say bi no kra nya Supreme Court judges na to dey be omunya case no matena so adi.
Says how problem no every prosecutors na kasa na cases are jam no. Because I thought I be
a prosecutors na case of Supreme Court is a different level.
They make us prosecutors na almost prosecute cases no. Says mama court I see a postpone case no.
Lower court asem na okay ana because esoro ho the prosecutors nya adwuma ho. Court kese na Supreme Court and attorney general level.
Come attorney general court o.
And I want to work as a more different from Ghana. And I make sure Ghana no prosecutors in court Supreme Court was what the attorney general level. Or the
attorney general level.
And a cohort.
Even attorney general no cry no. I was a like a specialized attorneys be or what. They are more or less equally like the attorney general. Common also motion on prosecute cases our court. Attorney general there, you are like a manager in a company.
But your sanity, Ghana Supreme Court, nya lawyer be an echo. Your lawyers are omoko Supreme Court, nya lawyer be an echo.
May say, Attorney General Crown, you are like a manager of a company. You don't go to a counter to do counter services. And also munya specialized lawyers be Attorney General's office, also motion prosecute cases our court.
But your sanity, Attorney General office on your chief state attorneys. Omuno case akesie paano. Omuno ko Supreme Court. And your attorneys no more finfin. Omuno na court of appeal. Tienye obi sanity. And your Attorney General your case be an Attorney General be court. Ube una ba akudipe.
Okay. And now it seems that judges somewhat judges almost Supreme Court Ramados. I don't say US Supreme Court and Casapan, I 9 pe. Now Ghana country population nipa be say 35 or 40 million. Now judges Supreme Court judges Bebroten. I also can judges na SCT on every case at a time. Yes. Now say majority no and a big winning case now where the woman bua case no. Yeah. I say it's a case called Supreme Court. Judges in the net nazo. No bia the ruling aba ni account boom. say a 4-2 or 4-2, 3-2 or 3-2 normal for majority. They don't select judges on the media assembly. I was
Okay,
at Ghana, son of me,
okay.
now Supreme Court judges and your 10 or 50. I see a moment now sits on every case, no almost ruling case.
Okay, yo. Because me now ask because Ghana judges in the omodos into me yenisa. So what the law no regulation is CJ in the panel. CJ in the panel. Brad David, I don't know. So bet me I bono. I summarize mammy because my time now so it's
Oh
already 10
yeah,
o'clock in Ghana.
I'll
Huh?
summarize it. Yeah.
So summarize it for me, please.
Yeah. So what I was saying is the whole thing started in that time when they started putting a lot of justices, into the Supreme Court. And then apart from that, if you can, I don't know whether you could remember when Justice Tokono went to the Supreme Court, I think around 2019. And then by 2023, she became a Chief Justice. So when you look at it, sometimes people see things like, just like your colleagues, you have other seniors at the post. Then when you come and then you see the president sees favor in you and makes you the Chief Justice, at the end of the day, inside the office, there are people who are not happy.
Okay, so you are saying that she was jumped.
Of course, the people
Okay.
are there in the system, and all of a sudden, you become the Chief Justice. Then,
Okay.
apart from that, the main thing that's bringing off all these things is, if you could remember about the e-levy issue. When the e-levy 2 was passed, and the minority then, Haruna and Co., they were majority. I think they were minority by that time. So they sent the case to the Supreme Court. Till date, I don't know whether you've heard whether that case, the Supreme Court have sat on it.
Okay.
Nope.
I think that one they decided on that case. Okay, no. I don't remember everything. So
Yeah,
go
because
ahead.
till date, I've been following. I've been trying to see whether there's something of that sort, any record that have shown that they've sat on it. And then you have a situation where a Speaker of Parliament says that, so and so people from this day onwards, according to the Constitution and that, you are no longer parliamentarian. Then within 12 hours, the Chief Justice is able to summon justices to sit on the case. And then a case that is even involving the removal of parliamentarians, which, let's say, the High Court supposed to be the jurisdiction, like they're supposed to hold the jurisdiction to hold or to sit on those cases. Then you say, no, let us jump from that level and then come to the Supreme Court straight, because as a Supreme Court, we can still sit on some of those cases. You still have jurisdiction or some power over some of those cases. Then you bring them forth. And then you have this whole minority going through all those ordeals. How do you think will happen if all of a sudden the coin is flipped? They will begin to look at it like, this particular person, as if we bring our cases, you don't want to respond to it. But if the
what
other
about
party,
that 214 case that they were acquitted and discharged? Was also
so
not
you see that the Atop and Co. case that was acquitted and discharged. Then you have to now look at it in this angle. That case didn't just jump to go to the Supreme Court. We are talking about cases that are just brought to the Supreme Court and how they are empaneled.
Yeah, but cases get to the Supreme Court because the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court is invoked. If you don't invoke the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court cannot go to any lower court and take a case. No, it doesn't happen like that.
Okay, so
you
now
have
look at
the applicant has to apply to the Supreme Court that I think this one is an interpretation issue, so the Supreme Court should come in and interpret. That's the only way, because the cases don't go unless it has gone to the High Court, Court of Appeal, and then you are seeking review in the Supreme Court. So those are the two formulas.
Okay, so now what about the cases that usually they don't go to the Supreme Court, neither do they go to the what's the name? The cases don't go to Court of Appeal nor the High Court, but they go straight forward to the Supreme Court.
If it's an interpretation issue, all interpretation issues, the court of first instance is the Supreme Court. That's the Article 2 case. So if the applicant who is taking the case to court says that this case, I want the Supreme Court to interpret, then if it's an interpretation matter, the first court, you don't go to High Court, you don't go to Appeal Court, straight, you go to the Supreme Court. Only interpretation cases go straight to the Supreme Court. All other cases, you have to go to the High Court. They must have given you judgment that you are not happy about. then you take it to the Court of Appeal. They give you a judgment that you are not happy about, then it goes to the Supreme Court. But once you say that this is an interpretation issue, straight, it goes to the Supreme Court. That's an Article 2 case.
My last thing that I just want to bring forth that you can possibly clarify to me is the Ato Forcing and Co issue and Richard Jakpa also. That case, did it go to this appeal court or to the Supreme Court?
Yeah, it was a criminal case that had gone all the way.
Like what I mean
had
is
gone
that
to the lower court all the way to the Supreme Court. Yeah.
I mean, from the High Court. Where did
Yes.
it go to? Like, where were they acquitted? Is it at the appeal court or?
I
the
don't.
Supreme
I
Court?
think they were acquitted at the High Court because it's a criminal case. It's a criminal case. Yes, it was a criminal case. Yeah.
So, but me, what I've observed is what I was just saying, where they brought those e-levy issues, where like people complained a lot about the government trying to force this e-levy on the people, and then the people are resisting, and then you see a particular minority saying that, we want to side with the populace. Let us take this case to the Supreme Court. Let them act on it, so that the president will not, sign it into law. And at the end of the day, everybody will be suffering. So you send the case to the court or to the Supreme Court, and at the end of the day, you've not heard anything. And and along the line, cases keeps coming. And then one other thing, the Assin-Love case. You see the Assin-Love issue. You see that they ruled that he cannot hold himself as the member of parliament. Like he cannot do that. Then when it came to other cases with the same members of parliament issue, the how do you call it? The Supreme Court started talking about like depriving people the constituents of representation. So what about the other people that you did that too? And even the people of SAL, they sat for the whole 4 years. Nobody represented them. So when you look at some of these things, and you begin to think that maybe somebody at the Supreme Court is being selective justice. And people begin to be to look at it like, no.
So you think that for that matter, her removal is justified? She needs to go.
No, I'm not saying her removal is justified. To be frank, I don't support removal of constitutional bodies. You see, like what happened in the Shallow Ose case, that one was a very big disaster. In fact, because if people are talking about, it was her deputies that brought the issue, and it was about procurement breaches and what have you, the thing you have to check is that if you are in your office and you breach any procurement law or act or whatever it is in your office, what do the law say that it should happen to you? What do the law say you should be taken through in your administration?
Okay.
Do the law say you should be removed? Or are there remedies inside your area, in your area of work, where if you breach something, you have to be taken through or you have to be punished accordingly?
Okay.
If you take that person through those rules, fair enough. But if you send the person and say, out of this, you need to be fired, or you need to you need to be ousted from office, then some people begin to see it like a political, game.
Okay.
And because
I guess I don't know what time you joined us, but we read Article 146. The procedure is there. The president has the power, like what President Mahama has done. If somebody submits a petition, there's a formula. And there's not President Mahama who wrote the Constitution. The Constitution was written before he came. There's a formula that has given the president the power that when there's a petition that is given to you, you refer it to a committee. So it's just the formula is there. So they have the power.
Vim, to be frank with you, some of these things, we are living in a country. In fact, the Constitution is there, the laws, the regulations are there, that when somebody submits something, it is your duty to just, they say the president is like a conveyor belt. You just submit it to the committee and what have you. But we shouldn't just always say.
So then let's push for the Constitution to be changed. But as it is now, you can't blame Mahama, you can't blame Akufo-Addo. The Constitution says if they bring you a petition, forward it. That's all that they are doing. So let us not give a dog a bad name and hang it. It's just the people who wrote the Constitution did it like this. So let's support that we should change the Constitution so that when they bring a petition, the president must establish that is their merit. Because like Lawyer Aban was saying, any
silly petition should not be forwarded. So but the president cannot do that unless the constitution is changed. So we must all support a constitutional amendment and not to just blame people like that. The people who wrote the constitution, maybe they wrote it in a hurry. We have grown now. We know that, look, if we allow this, any unmeritorious petition will be allowed. But let's change the constitution. But I think all of us are discussing this thing without looking at the issue that you are raising, which is that let us establish that there's a meritorious petition before we forward it. We can't just be forwarding anything.
Yeah, and then my last thing is about the missing, ECG containers. Vem, to be frank with you, I don't think we should be hearing some of those things. That 1,000-something containers are missing at our port. Nobody can it's a very big embarrassment. Like there's nothing like that. Where in Ghana, in this 21st century, you'll be hearing cases like missing containers. Not even 1 or 2 or 5, but 1,000.
Yeah.
How is that possible? So this one, I believe that everybody should support the minister to go into the case, even if it is to the president who is responsible for auctioning them, or former or present, anybody that is involved, the person should be arrested. In fact, they should just make it clear. Let all of us know that person. And or those people involved, whatever cartel or whatever that's involved, let everybody there come forward so that we will know them. Even if they don't go to jail, we will know that these are the people who are behind the killing of Ghana. Because if you look at it, they just want to kill the country. All those containers could have been used to. Some of us, we enjoyed those royal electrification in the times of what's the name? The late Prophet Mills. There are a lot of villages in Ghana that don't have light. And you have containers full of cables that are in the port, and they are given out to Chinese, and the Chinese will melt them into whatever aluminium. And then they are at least exported to China, and then they make it again, and then we
and bring it back. Well, that's why we must deal with the Ghanaians who are part of this syndicate, not the Chinese, because the Chinese are only benefit. There are people who work in the port who are behind all these things. Mr. Aburiawa, good evening. Thank you, David. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, and some you know, Pepina, Medis for the amount for King also. Yeah, me who say Ghana Judicial no. NDC for a meaning as an omoba. Ubusam say why? On say almost last 2 months and sana. Ya de better and say NDC for win here. And Quebec having a because na omo war problem about say nipa phobia and kabambabe and suspend one as when you won a Koyako Supreme Court. But micro mean lawyer no. The way judicial no is the rule case, I was so mad because na kwe ayebipe. Oh, ojina the same law between otimi yenti. Sa judicial na
vacant seat at them no yeah
enti obi a onye lawyer kura hu se nkofo no ye bias e was sitting almost sitting here no so enti entity for almost like it is almost winning sa parliament because na strategy na almost taking an komatimi abrasa laws be on the banana case almost passing war a first of parliament one no strategy no on use but asamono and some bebre akọ Supreme Court omo antraso we no omo tumrika traso no omo eruye omo rule case no hwe the way na abambabe ne wo omo fight omo the fa na abambabe dey fa han munti na NDC for minister omo ba sa ma me no be yi no enti they know say sa law no wo ho they know from 1992 no omo nim say law we wo ho they never use it, but almost at this opportunity to make a fuss. No more, first Supreme Court, a judge in every home, sir, every woman I use one. And number 2, sir, ECJ, I say Ghana in our sorry demonstration because doom so, no, and your parties in the here more. yen omama no na ade no hia yen enti se me yemu a enka Ghana for nyina atie si krom efi yakra e wa America ne ade na se atisi krom a demonstration against John Mahama and the God for now say so almost 50 sankophone out. Say free MPP mu say free NDC mu so o man hu. Oh because as them was saying anodin loopholes bebre leakages bebre wo man mu a me tin say na no obi ka say ye di na Jane beko eyi okuje to aka say na yentimi nya hospitals here Ghana can do anything that they could do. But look at this war man ni no. See yensia no kwan ya. Ya ba fra hu take entry to the kingdom come. E bi ni we no mo. Hwe sa sika we nyina e dwane kona fa bi no nsam. Oh, eti o man ni nyina sorry. Na omunya big demonstration anu ode pa say. Sanko 4 years ade we die. First one kapoha director and CEO no. Sabre kra senke ye de na tum. Na omu investigating no.
I think I know MPS, MPS rather, MPS for container terminal.
Whoever is in charge of that area should be prosecuted now. And no Pahua, old ECG minister, as I say, your channels, I say, Swung, I say, your channel, as only Pabas 4 or 5 as one with 2 women are gonna force solid Yawarmo. Now, yet this uncle for ya, the truth will come out.
Okay.
Yeah, may ask me how we bring.
Yo, yes, that's what I think of phobia. The truth will come out. No crying so there. As I said about anonymous will be buying at them. Okay, I don't critical. You know, stakeholders. So I'm fair near and see from near they are done no NDC near MPP. Then yala because this is not a matter of NDC and MPP. Now can obi baby a jumani ho. We can create jobs with all these things. But you decide this man call for we are and really no. Yeah, ordinary people. Yeah, was interested in some of these things, but we are also enabling these politicians to do politics with it. Oscar Mapu said, people must understand that it will not be easy for the president to remove an arm of government. Well, it is easy. You can't constitution and natural. It is easy. It is easy. All the president is doing is following the procedure. It is easy. What I say, you know, easy. But fan namase wo fa je na 1 month tempting and ya kan Canada Japan asem kakra na nim se ka be ba 1 month about 10 e ko 10:30 grant yakobon ya adman next week e beto aso why Wednesday rather Wednesday e beto aso Wednesday nti na munyina ase e mama mo se mo join the program no jasu jumede wa will send a message be so thank you ye na the ankan ni nyina ye the two screen so you able to see say o message na scroll e wo screen so thank you ever me vim lady ba se da kese nkoma high life radio Kings Jersey radio and Naspra radio and Migachu FM e wo kukren to me production team no Mr. Kojo Hansen the DOP e di bedi akosi adamasi sende mo ye production e my good night.